Chapter 198. If not for Marquis's orders, he would definitely not look at the mechanical weapon. God, he even saw a large number of metal spikes at the joints of the mechanical weapon. With such terrible workmanship, one could imagine how bad the standard of the mechanical weapon was. The seams on the head armor were crooked, just like an earthworm, which disgusted Yu Qing. What was even more unacceptable was that he actually saw a big patch. There was no beauty to speak of. Call him over to try. Marquis Wu found a seat and sat down, drank his tea, and said leisurely, "Let's see what our young Master Tang gave us. How is the mechanical weapon?" He has a mechanical martial artist by his side, and he is using a mechanical weapon from the Southern Cross Army. Hearing Yu Qing's exclamation, he was surprised and casually asked, "What's the problem?" After thinking, he decided to verify it, and casually took out a rank 4 spirit card and inserted it. This rank 4 spirit card's quality was rather average. Rank 4, Iron Hammer Fist. Damn it. If you want to use a patch, you should at least find a similar color metal plate. The color difference is so big that people think this is the main point. You are doing this on purpose. Yu Qing suppressed his anger and disgust, and began to inspect the fierce soldier. He had even started to think about how to attack the maker of this broken mechanical weapon without leaving a trace. He had seen more than 100 sets of mechanical weapons. Usually, if there was a small problem with a mechanical weapon, they would look for him to repair it, and there were even mechanical martial artists who specially came from other planets to seek help. In this small circle, he was definitely considered to be experienced and knowledgeable. A cry of surprise could be heard clearly in the quiet training grounds. Marquis Wu, who had his eyes closed, opened his eyes. Marquis Wu was experienced. Yu Qing thought he had concealed his emotions well, but Marquis Wu saw it all. Marquis Wu regained his senses, looked at the little girl's pouting face, and laughed out loud. "My good daughter is right. Dreams. That is a dream." The standard of mechanical martial artists were not high, because all along, the standard of mechanical weapons could not be improved. To many, mechanical martial artists were a profession with no future. These days, those who were willing to waste time on mechanical martial artists, mostly because of their passion for the profession. What was even more inconceivable was that he actually couldn't understand it. The ugly monster in front of her, who looked like a tin can, suddenly made a pose. Its huge iron hands suddenly clenched, and under Yu Qing's shocked expression, its fists were like a pair of iron hammers, heavily pounding the ground. In this era where strength was everything, no matter how loud a slogan was, it could not compare to a powerful fist. As long as you have the strength, you can have everything that makes people jealous. If you don't have the strength to talk about the glory of the past, it's just the self-consolation of a loser. When Yu Qing entered, he saw the mechanical weapon in front of everyone, and had a rough idea of what was going on. Hearing Marquis's words, he heaved a sigh of relief. Yes, mechanical weapons from the Southern Cross Army? Lung Feng was moved. This is not easy to get. Wait a minute. The mechanical martial artist gradually formed a small circle. Could it be this card slot was actually an ornament? Then he saw the card slot. This thing that had never appeared on a mechanical weapon before made him feel even more pressure. The spirit card suddenly lit up, and then the spirit card and the card slot disappeared. An extremely clumsy and stiff voice suddenly sounded in Yu Qing's mind. When he saw the true power lines for the first time, he was completely stunned. The strong contrast between the two made him involuntarily exclaim, and when he reacted, his face immediately changed. Around the pair of iron fists, countless of cracks spread out like a spider web. Suddenly, Yu Qing's hand trembled. He remembered a rumor that he had heard before. The mechanical grandmasters in Onyx Soul had already started to research on the fusion of mechanical weapons and spirit cards. Marquis Wu immediately realized its value. Bluffing, it must be bluffing. Marquis, Yu Qing bowed. Is this the beggar version? Who is the mechanical martial artist? Marquis Wu asked casually. Isn't he going Southern Cross Constellation? Don't tell me he wants to find the lost mechanical weapon technology of Southern Cross Army? Marquis Wu muttered. He is indeed an ambitious person. Yu Qing saw that Marquis Wu closed his eyes and heaved a sigh of relief. His gaze landed on the design of the true power lines inside the mechanical weapon, his expression complicated. Compared to the crudely made outer appearance, the design of the internal true power lines was simply as beautiful as a work of art. It was his first time seeing such a beautiful true power line. Those faint blue lines in his eyes were the most beautiful existence in the world. But in his heart, he fiercely despised the creator of this mechanical weapon. Such an ugly mechanical weapon. It was his first time seeing it. Unless it was a martial spirit? Marquis Wu felt that it was not bad. Such a powerful image. One look, and he could tell that it was a good material that could withstand torment. Beside him was Lung Feng, who had just completed a mission and rushed back. No. Yu Qing was shocked and hurriedly replied. This scared him. It was definitely done on purpose. So ugly, voila. Marquis Wu waved his hand. No need to be so courteous. I called you over to let you try out this mechanical weapon. Although Marquis Wu was slightly disappointed in his heart, but he did not care too much and simply closed his eyes to rest. If this mechanical weapon was not a gift from Tang Tian, he would have long thrown it into the trash. As for how powerful it was, it did not have any substantial meaning to him. The important thing was that Tang Tian had given him a gift. Lung Feng thought for a while. I think there was a fellow called Yu Qing, but his strength was not good, probably only at the 4th level. But he dared to guarantee he had never seen such a complicated true power line before. Any martial artist, if he could have 3 types of standard martial techniques, that meant that his tactics could be greatly enriched. Yu Qing wiped the perspiration off his forehead. He was starting to feel the pressure. He did not have the guts to lie to Marquis with his eyes wide open. Marquis Wu's eyes suddenly burst out a ball of light. Rank 4 Iron Hammer Fist. Just now, when the tin can's 2 fists hammered, it was the Iron Hammer Fist. Marquis Wu's gaze landed on the pair of iron hammers in the crack, and he was dazed. This fist could only be considered standard, but he had seen Yu Qing's action of inserting the spirit cards. Looking at the remaining 2 card slots, it meant that he could still insert 2 more martial techniques. But seeing that Marquis did not pursue, he kept his perturbed emotions and continued to study the mechanical weapon. Yu Qing began to sweat a little. The Marquis had always been strict and picky. If he couldn't come up with a good explanation, he would definitely not have a good ending. Yu Qing was dumbstruck. Suddenly, he quivered, and his face turned pale. Oh, then continue. Marquis Wu could see the uneasiness on Yu Qing's face, but he did not expose him and continued to close his eyes to rest. Yu Qing's strength was not high, but in the region ruled by Marquis Wu, he had some fame. His fame did not lie in his strength, but in his half a partner. As a mechanical martial artist, he was half a partner. As a mechanical engineer, he was also half a partner. But to have 2 half-partners at the same time, it was extremely rare in the circle. Since he could not understand the true power route, then he could only start from other places. Everywhere he looked at the crudely made parts, made him swallow fly after fly. Suddenly, his gaze went blank. Marquis Wu's face was full of shock. Marquis Wu looked at the fierce soldier in front of him and exposed an interested expression. Lung Feng did not say much, but instructed. The little girl retorted unhappily, Dad, that is not ambition. That is a dream. His standard was not high, but his knowledge was rather high. Although his heart was filled with intense disgust, but he did not dare to fool Marquis Wu. Iron Hammer Fist activated the remaining number of open martial techniques. Damn, is this still a mechanical weapon? Marquis Wu saw Yu Qing's skillful movements and nodded his head. It was obvious that he was familiar with it. He was rather unfamiliar with mechanical martial artists, but this could not be blamed on him. In Marquis Wu, even among the experts of Tianxing Star Cluster, there was not a single mechanical martial artist. The disgrace of the mechanical weapon world. Yu Qing subconsciously swallowed his saliva. Even if this kind of mechanical technique had already started to be researched, it would definitely be the most advanced mechanical technique. How could it appear on such a broken mechanical weapon? No one took them seriously. They were just a bunch of poor people with a lot of money, living in a fantasy world. This sound, How could there be a sound? The little girl opened her eyes wide, circled around the fierce soldier a few times, and was somewhat dissatisfied. Teacher is really giving such an ugly mechanical weapon. These card slots were real. To the little girl, it was too ugly, like a large black tin can. If not for the thick white lines drawing out the eyes, nose, and mouth, it would look somewhat silly and cute. It was simply not good at all. Suddenly, Yuqing thought of another rumor, and a surge of blood rushed to his head. Yuqing was born in a well-off family, and his family was considered well-off. If not, they would not be able to support him to play around with mechanical weapons. He was extremely familiar with mechanical weapons, and had played with most of the popular mechanical weapons in the market at least once. Rank 4 Iron Hammer Fist activated. Remaining number of activated martial techniques, 2. This mechanical weapon actually had a martial spirit undulation similar to a star treasure. In the eyes of ordinary people, although mechanical martial artists and mechanical engineers kept on saying that they wanted to revive the mechanical era, but in the eyes of everyone, it was just a group of paranoid fellows talking in their sleep. Yuqing cursed in his heart, but his hands did not stop moving. Now that he was under Marquis's eyes, he felt that if he showed any signs of being unprofessional, would he be killed by Marquis? Bang! And Yuqing, who was overly shocked, simply rolled his eyes, and like a wooden stake, he fainted straight away. This must be fake, right? Patch! He did not know when it started, but mechanical martial artists had become the synonym for the weak. Not long later, a skinny and weak-looking young man came to the training grounds. He saw Marquis Wu, and his expression was somewhat uneasy and reserved. Perspiration drenched his back. Yuqing's pressure increased. Since when did mechanical weapons actually have card slots? Suddenly, he stood up. The undulation of the martial spirit. Chapter 199. The manufacturing cost of Fear Soldier was only 30,000 star coins. Even if it was sold at a 10% discount, one could still earn 150,000 star coins. 20 of them would be 3 million star coins. The little girl was crying, but Tang Tian did not feel too sad. He patted the little girl's head and warned, "Don't think about going out to play every day. You must train well. Don't lose your godlike teacher's face." 3 days passed in the blink of an eye, and it was time to part. Bing, who was inside, the mechanical weapon blew his beard and stared. His poker face was so angry that it had changed shape. Since when was he criticized like this? It was a good start. This was not him being humble in the Southern Cross Army. Bing was not the strongest, but he was the most outstanding person in all the subjects. The more he grinded, the more experienced he became. The true power attached to his fingers was also constantly changing shapes. He was looking for what kind of shape to be able to increase the efficiency. When Tang Tian was grinding the anvil was always enveloped in dazzling sparks. The speed at which the sparks disappeared could not compare to the speed at which the sparks were created, and thus formed such a miraculous scene. Silei only felt his blood boiling, filled with fighting spirit. A strong meridian could accommodate more true power, and this also meant that the power of his techniques would become stronger. And with the meridian becoming stronger, it would also cause it to become more stable and could greatly reduce the possibility of getting injured or going berserk. After arranging everything, Bing took the map of the vicinity of Three Spirits City. Alone with one man and one armor, he entered the hunting spirit region. Elder Yun took it, glanced at it, and nodded in satisfaction. Not bad. Finished. He took the paper and turned to leave. Mingho was secretly glad that he had already memorized the address. Her face immediately revealed a smile. No problem. How many do you want? Fierce Soldier. S price is 200,000 star coins per set. Seeing that it was recommended by Tang Tian, I will give you a 10% discount, 180,000 per set. She needed a month to complete the order of 60 sets. His heart hardened. He decided that no matter what, he had to master this brand new fighting technique. Bing, who was well versed in battles, was clear. The normal training was far from enough. After bidding farewell to Marquis Wu and the others, Tang Tian and Ling Su boarded the silver carriage and plunged into the night. Out of consideration for safety, he first returned to the cross door, looked for Magic Flute, and asked Magic Flute to guard and protect Silei. Silei's importance now was self-evident. Silei's spirit was lifted. Tang Tian was quite reliable. He found a buyer so quickly. Bing naturally had a sense of pride in his heart. Tang Tian, his dream, was to become the greatest machinist. It wasn't without reason that he was chosen to groom new recruits. Not long after, 3 more people came to make reservations. Previously, when she gave Tang Tian the 4 sets of mechanical weapons, she was rushing for time, so she made them crudely. If she took them out to sell now, it naturally wouldn't be that bad. In this case, she could only make 2 a day. As soon as this idea popped up, Tang Tian fell in a deep thought. She stared at Sky Tiger, who was stumbling around in the arena with a face full of dissatisfaction. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. If he was able to strengthen all the meridians in his body, what kind of effect would that have? Ghost Claw did not teach him the Fire Scythe Ghost Claw, and only asked Tang Tian to grind the anvils. Tang Tian's entire focus was on grinding the anvils. He had completely forgotten that his final goal was the Fire Scythe Ghost Claw, and all his goals were on the 10,000 anvils. Hey, aren't you the strongest mechanical martial artist in the army? Why are you still at this standard? Silei's tone was full of ridicule. Martial spirit. You don't even know how to use the martial spirit? Don't use your body to forcefully control the mechanical weapons. That is a backward tactic. You need to learn how to use the martial spirit to fight. Martial spirit, Elder Yin replied. Don't tell me you're one too, but just 10,000 anvils business. A soldier who had completed the routine training could not even be considered qualified. Pay attention to the martial spirit. Silei's high-pitched voice almost pierced through people's eardrums. Dressed in red high heels, Silei's entire body was wrapped in tight leather clothing. Her devilish figure was outlined vividly and vividly. This method was actually able to strengthen the meridians. To the simple-minded Tang Tian, such a distant goal was an extremely difficult thing to achieve. At this time, Tang Tian, who was immersed in training, had completely forgotten about Silei and Bing in 3 Spirit City. In a day, he had obtained 60 sets of orders. With a profit of 150,000 per set, in the blink of an eye, it was a profit of 9 million star coins. In the blink of an eye, Tang Tian threw all the trivial matters to the back of his mind. His goal was to once again immerse himself in training. His current efficiency had already reached 6 anvils a day. Everyone knew of the benefits of strong meridians, but very few people could actually do it. The meridians were deep within the human body and were extremely difficult to train. Silei did not think that. It was just the beginning. I am Tianxing Star Group's supervisor Marquis Wu. Under Marquis Wu's orders, I hope to be able to purchase a batch of fierce soldiers from your shop. We were recommended by Master Tang Tian. The supervisor explained. Bing, who had completed the routine training, was not satisfied. 3 Spirits City, Silei's mechanical weapon shop. Silei was extremely motivated, excitedly shouting. And with 9 million star coins, she could definitely create a middle-level mechanical weapon. Previously, she was bored in the base, so she designed a few new types of mechanical weapons. Without saying a word, she turned and left. After a few steps, she met Elder Yin. You're looking for me? Silei looked at him suspiciously. After a while, she regained her senses from her excitement. Although Tang Tian looked stupid, but when it came to selling things, he was a good helper. Seems like I have to make good use of him. As the chief instructor of the army, he was always the one teaching others. Suddenly, Flower Panda slipped in and whispered something into Silei's ear. Silei's face revealed a look of astonishment. She immediately walked out of the training grounds and into the shop. After today's separation, it was hard to say if they would ever meet again in the future. All the best. Bang, bang, bang. The journey had just begun, but good designs often meant high costs. 9 million star coins was just enough to create one of them. He needed higher intensity training and battles to sharpen himself. Only then could he create a brand new battle technique. From the start, Bing was not satisfied with controlling Sky Tiger. But very quickly, Tang Tian did not have time to think. He needed to move. He had many proud achievements that he did not brag to Tang Tian and basically, he was the record holder for more than half of the subjects. Since that was the case, Bing decided to go to the hunting spirit region to sharpen his own battle techniques. The young lady bawled, although she had only known her teacher for a short time, but Tang Tian had already become her idol. New battle techniques? So what if it was a new battle technique? Finished, he handed Ming Ho a small piece of paper and immediately slammed the door shut. Very quickly, the manager paid the deposit, signed the contract, and agreed on the delivery time. When the satisfied manager left, Sai Lei could not help but jump up and shout. Ming Ho ordered 20 sets. Elder Lin and Elder Yun each ordered 10 sets. Elder Yun's gaze landed on the small piece of paper in Ming Ho's hand. Ming Ho did not dare to offend Elder Yun, and immediately took the initiative to ask, "Elder, are you going to teach your Tang to inquire about where to sell the mechanical weapons?" Once he set his mind on it, Bing's progress immediately became very fast. Regular training, to him, was no longer difficult. Communicating with the martial spirit, he had already started to get used to it. But, just like what he had boasted about, he was extremely sharp towards battles, and this often allowed him to quickly grasp the crux. What made Tang Tian surprised was he could clearly feel the meridians connecting his fingers becoming much thicker. This attracted his attention. The meridians becoming stronger, to any martial artist, was a fatal attraction. 20 sets, that would be 6 million star coins. This was her first big business. Tang Tian clenched his teeth and used the word insignificant, and then trained with all his might. The speed of his fingers grinding on the anvil became faster and faster. Even with the strong friction, the speed of his fingers on the anvil was so fast that it was like a shadow. The manager heaved a sigh of relief. The price was much lower than what he had expected, and immediately said, "We need 20 sets." He wanted to defend the pride of being the chief instructor. Sai Lei's eyes immediately had countless star coins dancing around. Ming Ho respectfully handed over the small piece of paper. This subordinate just got it from Teacher Tang. Tang Tian gathered his strength, grinding the anvil with all his might, grinding his fingers into carrots day and night, not relaxing a bit. Every time his true power was depleted, he would use star rocks to train. Sai Lei was overjoyed and immediately said, "No problem." No matter how extravagant it was, after using it often, it would naturally become a habit. Thinking about that, she was filled with even more motivation. The knocks on the door forced Tang Tian to stop training. It was already the third time he was disturbed today. Previously, Marquis Wu and Elder Lin had already come to find him. Tang Tian opened the door. It was Ming Ho. This brand new style of fighting, to Bing, was still relatively new and unfamiliar. As an instructor, Bing had an unusual passion for the research and exploration of fighting techniques. Ming Ho's gaze swept across the small piece of paper, and on it was written, "Spirit Region 3 Spirits City, Sai Lei Mechanical Weapon Shop." Ming Ho's spirit was roused, so the seller was in the Spirit Region, although he did not know where 3 Spirit City was. But as long as it was in the Spirit Region, he would be able to find out. Ming Ho said anxiously. Tang Tian made a hand gesture to stop him, and said, "I know what you want to ask there. The address is already here. As for the specific route, you have to find it yourself." No matter what, they had to find a shop. A middle-aged man was already waiting there respectfully. Chapter 200. The big fellow in front of him did not have any aura of a star spirit beast, and although its speed was fast, but if one looked closely, one could see that its movements were stiff, far from the nimbleness of a real, iron-skinned ape. "I swear to help my brothers. I swear to treat my friends sincerely. I swear to love till death." The monster in front of him had a body shaped like an iron-skinned ape, but its arms and legs were abnormally thick, and its entire body had flame-like red stripes. Only its eyes were gray like mist, without any signs of life. Liu Yizhi firmly believed in this. But now he had the star map in his hands. An unfamiliar reply suddenly came out. Just as Bing finished his preparations, the opponent appeared in his vision. He could not see any mechanical metal on the opponent's mechanical weapon, but it looked like a strange star spirit beast, as though it was alive. Bing's gaze landed on the opponent's mechanical weapon. and his pupils constricted. The blue mechanical weapon had the obvious style of the Southern Cross Army, but this was definitely the best imitation of the Southern Cross Army. No, it had already surpassed the standard of the Southern Cross Army. Liu Yizhi looked at the blue mechanical weapon in front of him in shock. When he left Three Spirits City, he did not expect that he would enter so deep into the soul world. It was extremely far from Three Spirit City, and he had passed by 2 towns on the way. One was called Rain City, the other was called Million Treasure City. His hands hugged his legs tightly, his knuckles turning white. He felt as though he was floating in hell. King Kong rushed forward. If not for Bing's familiarity with mechanical weapons and being immersed in it for so many years, he would definitely not associate the monster in front of him with mechanical weapons. His orange-red eyes were as bright as candlelight. Since when did such a powerful mechanical engineer appear? Liu Yizhi's attainments in mechanical weapons were extremely deep, and with one look, he could see the standard of the mechanical weapon. The blue metal feather armor sparkled with an enchanting luster. In Liu Yizhi's eyes, it was more beautiful and alluring than any beauty's skin. It was a perfect and elegant structure, and even had wings. As he read, Ling Su's trembling voice gradually became stable, and he read loudly. Marquis Wu had specially sent a few coachmen to help Tang Tian drive the Pegasus carriage. This was already the 20th day since Bing entered the spirit region. I swear to help anyone who asks me for help. I swear not to hurt any woman. His teacher's warm voice seemed to ring in his ears. When he was young, his teacher often told him about hell and heaven. His teacher had said that only people with reverence and a devout heart could enter heaven. The terrain was very flat and spacious, and there was nothing obstructing their vision. When the soldier saw the appearance of the newcomer, he was instantly stunned. Although Tiger was always so honest that it made people sad, but to be able to have a companion to talk to, Bing was extremely happy and blabbered on. What a strange mechanical weapon. Liu Yizhi's eyes lit up. The mechanical weapon in front of him was the most outstanding mechanical weapon he had ever seen. If such a mechanical engineer could cooperate with him, he would definitely create the most perfect and strongest mechanical weapon in the world. The sound of the spear tearing through the air rang out incessantly. The tip of the spear tore through the air, but it wasn't a sharp and ethereal whistling sound. Instead, it sounded like a cloth being torn apart. It was deep and hoarse, but it was filled with a dangerous aura that made one's heart palpitate. Whose work is this? You are a spirit general. Tiger reminded Bing of his mistake. Chi, chi, chi. You can speak. Bing's expression was as though he had seen a ghost. His poker face suddenly became lively. Why am I like an old granny now, so talkative? Bing casually said. He realized that today he had actually spoken to Tiger the entire journey. Compared to that time, the danger and intensity now was not worth mentioning, but it still ignited his passion. Tiger was extremely satisfied with his own name. Hell, huh? The opponent's speed was extremely fast. He was extremely sure of that. His trembling hands casually flipped a page. Diverting his attention should reduce the pain. What is heaven like? Is it warm, without pain? Someone is approaching, Bing said softly. His gaze was so passionate that it seemed as though he wanted to melt the blue mechanical weapon in front of him. It was his first time seeing such a beautiful and heart-palpitating mechanical weapon. Rest for a while, Tiger. Bing muttered and stopped. The opponent was actually a mechanical martial artist. In a split second, Liu Yizhi made this decision. Lonely, Tang Tian was still training crazily, without Bing by the side. Magic Flute also went over to help. Ghost Claw was as quiet as a statue. His gaze did not leave Tang Tian for even a moment, and was as quiet as a statue. He had named the martial spirit inside Sky Tiger as Tiger. After a moment, he suddenly reacted and said in disbelief, You are Tiger? Capture the opponent. Today, he came out was to give his King Kong the last round of testing. After completing this round of testing, their Blood Meridian's battle armor would be released into the market. Like a ray of sunlight piercing through the dark clouds in the sky, The gale swept the darkness and despair as it roared angrily across the land. At that moment, his heart was filled with gratitude. Yes, Tiger's reply was extremely accurate. He did not expect to actually be here, to actually meet a mechanical weapon that was not inferior to King Kong. His voice became louder and louder. The pain and coldness seemed to have left him. A strange warm chi slowly rose from the depths of his body. His curled-up body gradually relaxed, his voice resonating in the room. Tiger was a qualified listener. It would give you feedback, would not refute, and would not be impatient with Bing's nagging. He was rather proud of that experience that year. In the entire army, he was the only one to complete it. Until now, he still remembered when he appeared in front of the commander covered in dust. The commander's face was filled with shock and astonishment. Ling Su's expression was abnormally focused. Perspiration flowed down his cheeks, dripping from his chin into the pointed sea spear, and was immediately stirred by the chaotic and sharp chi into countless fine and translucent crystals. The silver transformation allowed his strength to soar by leaps and bounds, but it started to show its sinister side. His bones that could not bear the burden. Under the penetration of this strange and extremely cold chi, the cold and intense pain started to spread throughout his body. I swore to treat the weak well. I swore to bravely fight against rape. I swore to fight against all wrongs. I swore to fight for the defenseless. I tried it, and it came out. Tiger replied. Luckily, he was still a strong mechanical martial artist. Damn it. Its running speed was extremely fast. It looked like a small mountain, but when it ran, it did not make a sound. Today's training was completed without any hesitation. Tiger did not reply, but Sky Tiger immediately entered a battle state. Their coordination was extremely good. What a strange mechanical weapon. Bing's body froze. Liu Yiji's eyes were filled with fanaticism. His heart still had a trace of vigilance. He had spent so much time and energy to create a new mechanical weapon, and was about to be released into the market. He and his companions firmly believed that they were invincible. They would be like a storm, sweeping through the entire world and creating a new era. Tang Tian's only impression of Corvus Constellation was when he met Master Wu, who pretended to be Corvus Constellation in Starwind City. Other than that, he knew almost nothing about Corvus Constellation. The silver heavenly steed carriage flew in the sky. According to the star map, they had to first reach Corvus Constellation. A piercing cold intent suddenly spread from the back of his neck to his spine. His face and body could not help but tremble. Along the way, Sky Tiger's full speed, 20 days, the distance was astonishing. Compared to it, his own mechanical weapon was like an ugly lump of flesh and blood. These were two extremely small towns, even smaller than Three Spirit City. Bing marked them on his own map. He had opened up a route. Along the way, he had met countless of ferocious star spirit beasts. Suddenly, he felt as though he had returned to the era of the army, and he was traveling alone. Mechanical martial artist. Because I'm lonely. Teacher, is this the last gift you left for me? Bing's body froze, as though he was struck by lightning. Lonely? So is lonely. That's right. I'm the only one left. Ling Su's face was pale white. He hugged his knees and silver spear, his entire body curled up into a ball. Bing and Sky Tiger already had a tacit understanding. Ever since he started to get used to the new mechanical weapons fighting method, he was once again filled with interest, and his fighting ability quickly increased. His hair had completely turned silver white, glistening under the light. His handsome face was like the reflection of the silver spear tip, silent and cold, his orange-red pupils like a dancing flame. Liu Yiji's eyes released a ball of light aura, his gaze firmly locked onto the blue mechanical weapon. His heart was filled with confidence. Even the heavens were helping him, sending his competitor to his mouth. He was pleased with himself for a long time. Corvus Constellation was a small constellation, and among the many constellations, it was not considered outstanding. But it was written on the star map. Corvus Constellation swordsmen were prevalent, and the locals were proud to train in the sword. Suddenly, Bing stopped and revealed a cautious stance. Ling Su used a trembling voice, stuttering as he read. Bing quickly awoke from his shock and immediately became excited. Wah, wah, wah. Then didn't you become even more powerful? Ha! That's great. I am the first person to own a mechanical weapon that can speak. He suddenly thought of something. He trembled as he found an old and tattered book from the Aquarius Marshall cabinet. This book, in his memories, was often flipped through by his teacher, and the book was very old. There were very few things left behind by his teacher, and this book was one of them. Bing was becoming more and more fond of muttering and talking to himself. Even Ghost Claw, who was a wooden person, could not stand it. Bing himself also felt gloomy, not knowing if it was because of Tang Tian, that fool's influence, or other reasons. Bing also felt that he was becoming more and more stupid. Chapter 201. In the blink of an eye, King Kong's body that was like a small mountain was filled with wounds of all sizes, fresh blood covering its entire body. It looked extremely terrifying. Pa pa pa. He had always been improving and had already broken through 20 ambles a day. Chi. Liu Yiji's eyes flashed a look of ridicule. He could almost imagine the beautiful mechanical weapon would instantly crumble, and the feathers would explode like a torrential rain. Fire Scythe Ghost Claw seemed to have suddenly become not so far away. Looking at Sky Tiger's blue figure, no one actually dared to chase. But this publicly acknowledged expert of the organization was actually being suppressed by another mechanical martial artist. Although surprised, Bing did not stop. In the midst of King Kong's roar, his body turned, and like a ghost, he appeared at King Kong's blind spot. If not, the organization would definitely not have wasted a mechanical weapon on a weak mechanical engineer just because he was the creator of King Kong. Liu Yiji did not think that he would actually be reduced to such a state, even though he knew that the opponent was stronger than him. But his arrogant personality still made him feel extremely ashamed. Liu Yiji's pupils suddenly constricted. Not good, an afterimage. Liu Yiji's heart jumped. His face changed slightly. Bing was finally surprised. King Kong's defense made him extremely surprised. Sky Tiger's slashes were extremely outstanding and could easily break through the thick skin of the star spirit beasts, but he did not expect that it would only leave such a shallow wound on King Kong's body. Liu Yiji's change was extremely fast. King Kong's charge did not change. His left knee was like a flying boulder, whistling forward. King Kong's knee strike brought up a huge shadow, swallowing the blue mechanical weapon. Tang Tian was called out by the coachman. The rest just now allowed him and Sky Tiger to recover from their fatigue. It was a habit left over from the army era. For a long-distance raid, resting was more important than burying one's head and running. Not overly squeezing out his physical strength, allowing himself to be in a state where he could fight at any time. To Bing, this had become an instinct. Blood Meridian's weapons took up a lot of energy from the organization, and from 5 years ago, the organization started to nurture mechanical martial artists. After spending countless of energy and star coins, they finally nurtured a batch of strong mechanical martial artists. Tang Tian interrupted the coachman. He stared ahead and muttered, "Looks like someone already sees us as a piece of juicy meat." The Sky Tiger's body swayed imperceptibly, and the King Kong's enormous body reacted instinctively. At this moment, the Sky Tiger crouched down and instantly appeared under the King Kong's ribs like a bolt of blue lightning. Liu Yiji's angry roar resounded throughout the battlefield, and those companions who had rushed over to support him seemed to have awoken from a dream, and they all entered the battlefield. King Kong's legs were shockingly thick, so this knee strike was extremely powerful. Even a slight graze would result in a broken arm or a missing leg. Liu Yiji knew King Kong's strength like the back of his hand. This new type of mechanical weapon was something that they had spent countless of blood and sweat to research, fusing star spirit beasts and blood meridians into a masterpiece. Every constellation had experts like the clouds, and no matter how arrogant Liu Yiji and the rest were, they did not dare think that they were stronger than the truly powerful martial artists. Even if they thought that the blood meridian's weapons were the best mechanical weapons, they would never dare to challenge the heroes of the world. This speed immediately became very shocking. Liu Yiji's heart calmed down. The fear in his heart swept away. The most important thing now was to tie down the opponent. He roared and pounced toward Sky Tiger. The strength of the Blood Meridian's weapons was definitely not something humans could compare to, and King Kong was one of the best. Out of all the Blood Meridian's weapons that they had created, King Kong was not the strongest mechanical weapon, but in terms of strength, no one could compare to him. They looked at King Kong, who was covered in blood, and could not believe their own eyes. King Kong's display of inhuman strength caused everyone who had seen it to be overwhelmed with shock. They had met a strong opponent. In this world, there was actually such a strong mechanical martial artist. If the opponent was a martial artist, everyone would definitely not be so surprised, but what they were surprised about was that the opponent was also a mechanical martial artist. Damn it! If he did not coincidentally increase the thickness of the muscles at the back of King Kong's neck to increase his defense, he would definitely have lost the ability to resist. Facing such an expert, losing the ability to resist would only result in death. Stop him! Chi chi chi. Sky Tiger brought along a series of afterimages. King Kong brought along a gale, appearing and disappearing. King Kong's footsteps had already started to become clumsy. The Blood Meridian's weapons and Blood Meridians were closely linked. The large amount of blood loss caused King Kong's strength to quickly decrease. Yes, master. The coachman explained, Corvus Constellation produces swordsmen, but this place does not have a strong ruler, so there are many wandering swordsmen. These wandering swordsmen are mostly poor, without a fixed residence. They are hired by others, but in the dark, they rob and do all sorts of bad things. The reputation of the Corvus swordsman outside is extremely bad. Bing was slightly surprised. He should have hit a vital point, but he did not expect that the opponent was actually fine. Seems like this weird mechanical weapon still had some miraculous points. Everyone was overwhelmed with shock. The improvement was huge, but the degree of exhaustion was also increasing. Every day, Tang Tian would be awake for half a day, and the other half, he would definitely be muddle-headed and clenching his teeth to persevere. Just at the same time, a sharp pain came from the back of his neck. King Kong's huge body could not help but fall forward. Liu Yiji, who was overwhelmed with shock, could not care less, and took the opportunity to roll forward. Yes, master. The coachman reminded, although ordinary wandering swordsmen do not dare to have any ideas on the silver carriage, but some of the stronger wandering swordsmen will see us as fat meat, 20 anvils a day. Adding the time difference of the cross door, it was equivalent to a day in reality. Tang Tian could destroy 80 anvils. And in a month's time, he would destroy 2,400 anvils. Facing King Kong, who was like a small mountain crushing down on him, Bing's poker face was indifferent. Only his two thick eyebrows, his pair of small eyes squinted. The blue light that was like a blade flashed from time to time, and every blue light was accompanied by a spurt of fresh blood. But Bing did not have the slightest desire to fight. The wings on Sky Tiger's back spread out, and a second before the opponent's encirclement was formed, his entire body soared into the air, swaying continuously in the air, tricking a few people to subconsciously block him. The originally tight encirclement was easily torn open by Bing and rushed out of the encirclement, swaggering away. As long as one was hit, no matter how strong the mechanical weapon, it would lose its fighting ability. The coachman hesitated for a while and said, Master, Corvus Constellation is not very peaceful. But just at this time, a few sharp whistles came from afar. Liu Yiji's mind was roused. His companions were here. Mechanical martial artists were just a branch of the huge martial artists, and they knew that they still had this bit of self-awareness. Master, we have already stepped into the territory of Corvus Constellation. The coachman said respectfully. These days, the strength of mechanical martial artists were not high. Any random mechanical martial artist in the organization, if placed outside, would definitely be a top-notch standard. And for Liu Yiji to have the ability to use King Kong, it was enough to prove that even in the organization where geniuses gathered, he was still relatively outstanding. If it was a normal martial artist, they might still be suspicious. Why did the opponent suddenly make a move? But to Bing, who had experienced countless of battles, without any hesitation, in a moment he counterattacked. Bing's poker face was calm, as though he did not see the knee strike coming towards him. He was calm. Even in such an urgent situation, Bing still had a calm and unruffled look, showing how calm he was at the moment. 3 consecutive slashes brushed past King Kong's rolling body, entering the ground, and 3 mud pillars rose up. King Kong suddenly released a deafening roar, pointing out the direction to his companions. Once an expert made a move, it would be obvious. Liu Yizhi had confidence in his own strength. Naturally, he was not a useless person, and his eyesight was not something an ordinary person could compare to. Liu Yizhi, who had just escaped from the gates of hell, his face was pale white, his face still showing traces of fear. In that moment, he was so close to death. The opponent actually did not dodge. Such a strong martial artist. Such a strong mechanical weapon. So fast. Bing was like a patient painter. From time to time, he would paint a bright red brush on King Kong's body. All the mechanical weapons that he had tested before, all of them ended up like this. When Liu Yizhi's companions rushed over, seeing the scene in front of them, all of them were overwhelmed with shock. So fast. Tang Tian, who was at a loss, was already tormented by the training, to the point that he wished he was dead. His mind was filled with anvils, densely packed, and endless anvils. A blue aura flashed past. King Kong's body had an additional blade wound, and a small amount of blood spurted out. Bing was extremely clear of Liu Yizhi's intentions. Both of their battle experience were simply not on the same level. Without thinking, Bing changed his fist into a palm. The palm blade was extremely sharp. The thick skin and thick flesh of King Kong truly had an astonishing defense. Its muscles had been strengthened greatly and was much more durable than normal metals. Not peaceful. Tang Tian had not regained his senses. When he faced the aggressive King Kong, he did not have a bit of fear. But the opponent was actually also a mechanical martial artist. Liu Yizhi was a famous expert in the organization, and King Kong was also one of the famed armors in the organization. Collapsing, fainting, these were all common. As long as he added another blade, he would be able to kill him perfectly. Bing looked at his completely exposed back. The crisscrossing scars were extremely terrifying, and this was until now Liu Yizhi's biggest weakness. Tang Tian gradually woke up and was surprised. Doesn't that mean Corvus constellation is very chaotic? Sky Tiger's attacks would land on King Kong's body from time to time, causing his fur to fly everywhere. But Liu Yizhi clenched his teeth and persevered. He had made up his mind. He wanted to borrow King Kong's strong defense and use his fearless fighting style to entangle the opponent. In the world of mechanical martial artists, Liu Yizhi had already lost such a battle. But Tang Tian persevered and did not waste a single day. Such perseverance and tenacity, even Ghost Claw was surprised. Chi chi chi. Such a big movement. How could Bing not guess? But his poker face was still as calm as water. Even his pair of small eyes did not have any ripples. Chapter 202. The 5 people sword techniques were exactly the same, coordinating with each other. The 5 fire crow sword auras, resonating with each other. Their positions were all ingenious. Fire crows crossing. The 5 people's gray swords formed a circle at the same time and shouted in unison, "Kill!" When Ling Su flew out of the carriage, the 5 of them looked as though they were facing a great enemy. The whistling sounds of the swords were incessant. Tang Tian believed in his own judgment. With a face of sympathy, he looked at Ling Su and shook his head. Don't fight. Don't fight. Ling Su, if you're sick, you have to go and get treated. If you continue like this, it will be very dangerous. Let me tell you, your brain is very important. Don't worry, I won't abandon you. Corvus Constellation definitely has a powerful doctor. Ling Su did not seem to see anything. His body in the air did not move. The 5 people's strengths were average, but this combined attack was definitely the power of a Heaven's Road grade martial artist. The giant fire crow exploded into a rain of fire. The 5 of them groaned, their faces overwhelmed with shock. Bang! Ling Su felt that he was going crazy, and flew into a rage. Shut up. Decisive battle. Chi chi chi. Ling Su's face was like a gathering of dark clouds, getting darker and darker. The five of them did not hesitate to use their killing technique. A dazzling fire light lit up on the fire crow's body. The fierce fire crow did not seem to feel anything. The pointed sea spears in front of the fierce fire crow, seemed to be extremely weak. The fire crow's body was terrifying. The flames around it fluttered. The sword intent flowed. The fierce chi enveloped the entire field. The sympathy in Tang Tian's eyes became heavier. He shook his head and said with a face of sincerity, Ling Su, although your brain is not good, I will not look down on you. A good brother is loyal. The five of them made a prompt decision. The gray swords in their hands kept changing, and beams of dazzling fire crow sword light kept entering the giant fire crow's body. The giant fire crow's body, which had dimmed a little, immediately became bright and dazzling, and its power suddenly increased. A calm voice suddenly sounded out. Tang Tian turned his head and saw Ling Su. Tang Tian was stunned. The Ling Su in front of him was unusually calm. The orange pupils no longer had any of the usual anger. The five of them were shocked. Wah, Ling Su, you improve a lot. Tang Tian's eyes widened, but then he asked, but why are you not using that serious stab? The flaming crow sword lights that covered the sky had suddenly vanished and transformed into a fiery red sword light that was over 3 m wide, and it was like a ferocious and enormous flaming crow that pounced down from the sky. The five of them came from the same sword village and grew up together. They were taught by the same teacher. The five of them were of a fire crow. They had, and of them a fire. 5 of their level was very close. The fire crow formation was that. Of the formation. His feet landed lightly on the deck of the carriage, his silver hair fluttering. Ling Su in his gold-threaded white robe stood straight like a spear, but did not give off a feeling of being aggressive, but instead made people feel strangely calm, like a still storm. Stab him with a straight face. Calm down. Don't bother with this kind of trash. He was like a different person. That layer of pointed sea spears in their eyes was not that profound. In the scarlet red pupils, Tang Tian could clearly see greed, surprise, passion. The fire crow crashed into the pointed sea spears. Following that, balls of firelight suddenly lit up on the fire crow's body, one after another, extremely concentrated. The 5 of them calmed down, although it looked like the firelight was very concentrated and looked very scary, but they could feel that the fire crow's attack was not that strong. It was as if a thick cloth was being torn apart, suppressing the whining sound of the sword. This kind of change in rhythm was completely out of their control. The huge pressure forced them to continuously increase the speed of their swords. Ling Su's extremely angry roar was like rolling thunder, spreading far and wide. Those people who were watching in the dark were all trembling in fear. Retracting his spear, the sky full of pointed sea spears suddenly disappeared. The anger in Ling Su's eyes slowly subsided. He once again regained his calmness. Tang Tian's face was filled with concern. Ling Su, did you train too much recently and spoil your brain? Oh my, could it be because of this that you forgot about the serious stab? He originally thought that the pointed sea spears was weak, but it was unexpectedly strong. The gigantic fire crow was like a star spirit beast that had fallen into a net. No matter how it struggled, it was unable to rush out of the net. The sky full of fire crows whizzed, covering his vision. He had nowhere to hide. The 5 gray-robed swordsmen's faces revealed uncontrollable joy. The opponent was actually so arrogant that he did not even dodge. His footsteps stopped, his expression froze, and Ling Su's eyes twitched. The calmness was torn to pieces. The storm roared, the orange-red eyes blazing. In just a short moment, Tang Tian witnessed the entire process of Ling Su's calm to rage. Corvus Constellation's fire crow sword. The 5 of them raised the gray swords in their hands. Every gray sword lit up with a scarlet red flowing flame. The whining sound of the swords sounded out at the same time. 5 flat flowing flame sword auras unfolded in the air, like 5 fire crows bringing along 5 fiery lights, whizzing towards Ling Su. Kill! But the opponent's attack speed was actually faster than the 5 of them combined. The speed of the spear tips continued to rise. The pressure the 5 of them were enduring also continued to rise. As long as they pierced through the thin layer of pointed sea spears, the opponent would no longer have any protection. Under Tang Tian's shocked gaze, Ling Su, who was holding onto the spear in his right hand, suddenly stepped onto the guardrail at the side of the carriage. His handsome face under the sunlight was calm and peaceful. The 5 gray-robed swordsmen suddenly dispersed. 2 of them went up. The other 3 swept out in 3 arcs from the left, right, and top, pouncing towards Ling Su. Tang Tian looked at Ling Su in astonishment, with a face of innocence. Why? I am praising you. Ling Su felt his entire body was releasing flames. He had completely gone berserk. His head of silver hair exploded. The silver spear pointed straight at Tang Tian, roaring, You. Come, let's fight to our heart's content. The light from a fire shone on Ling Su's handsome face and silver hair. His face that was as calm as a lake seemed to have ripples. The flames of anger lit up from his orange eyes, and following the ripples, it spread to every corner of his face. But they did not have time to react. The boundless pointed sea spears instantly swallowed the 5 of them. The 5 of them were already ashen-faced. The silver spear disappeared from Ling Su's hands, and at the same time, the pointed sea spears blossomed in the air. The 5 of them hesitated for a long time, then decided to test the waters. If they succeeded, then they would definitely earn a lot. Not to mention the others, just the carriage was enough to sell for a high price. They did not expect to meet such an arrogant and stupid enemy. But following that, seeing Ling Su's arrogance, they immediately realized that it was a good opportunity. Impossible. They had no choice but to increase the speed of their swords. The more concentrated fire crow sword intent, like anxious fire crows, entered the gigantic fire crow's body. Tang Tian's pupils constricted. Even though he was in the carriage, he could feel the ferocious and ruthless qi rushing towards him. The blazing heat wave caused the surrounding air temperature to rise rapidly. This fellow, calm down, can't go on. For this fire crow's crossing, they had specially trained for the speed of their attacks. The speed of their fire crow swords exceeded the standard fire crow swords by at least 2 levels. The pointed sea spears were like the rising tide of the sea. There was no end. The dazzling fire light from the start flashed on the gigantic fire crow's body, so concentrated that it caused people's hearts to palpitate. That serious stab's power is quite strong. You can't have forgotten about it, right? Tang Tian touched his chin with a face of regret. If I had forgotten about it, that would be such a pity. That's a pretty powerful move. But no matter, use your strength to think. Maybe you can remember. They had rich battle experience. They knew they had already lost their rhythm. The rhythm of the battle was completely dominated by the opponent. The 5 of them continued to release their fire crow sword auras, one after another. The fire crow sword auras were like raindrops, flocking towards Ling Su. Whoa, watch my serious stab. Ling Su, who was in the air, looked at the 5 people pouncing towards him, his body not moving an inch. Their faces quickly became white. Sinful body, my spear will point. The silver carriage was astonishingly extravagant. One look, and one could tell that the other party was either rich or noble. Upon entering Corvus constellation, it was like throwing a stone into a calm lake, causing countless of ripples. The roar was like thunder, resonating throughout the entire field. The gigantic fire crows slowly became dimmer, becoming even dimmer. It was a stalemate without any fancy moves. Once they were at a disadvantage, there was no way to recover. The scales of victory had already tilted towards the opponent. Brain, sick, quietly standing in the air, his gaze slowly swept across the surroundings. Without saying a word, He turned and floated back to the carriage. There were no mysteries in the battle. The contest between the two parties was a contest of numbers, the number of attacks. When the five of them lost control of the rhythm, it meant that the opponent's number of attacks was more than the five of them combined. The five of them congealed. The attacks that the gigantic fire crows had to endure were rapidly increasing. Ling Su's furious roar exploded in Tang Tian's ears without any warning, causing Tang Tian to shrink back his neck. The five gray-clothed swordsmen were like a flock of gray crows flying towards the silver carriage. These gray-clothed swordsmen all had cold expressions, their eyes were red, and they all wielded gray swords. Tang Tian danced with joy. No matter how many fire crow sword auras frantically joined in, it still became dimmer and dimmer. Shua, stepping on the railings, he flew out of the carriage. His silver hair fluttered in the air. He was like a snow-white big bird, rushing towards the five gray-clothed swordsmen. Countless people had their eyes on it, but the majority of them did not have enough strength, so they did not make a move. The five of them waved their swords faster and faster. The sound of ripping cloth was like a ghost, lingering in everyone's ears. "Shut up, you asshole. You did it on purpose. You definitely did it on purpose." Ling Su, who had a sinister expression, grabbed his silver spear. Thumping his chest, he flew into a rage. "Come, let's fight. Today, either you die or I die." If they did not personally experience it, they would definitely not believe it. Silver hair and silver spear, his style was outstanding. But what made everyone surprised was the gigantic fire crow's body was still slowly dimming. Chapter 203. I never thought that there would actually be someone who could create such a weird mechanical weapon. Bing's face surfaced a look of disdain, but it's really ugly. All the clan elders' faces were extremely gloomy. He was ultimately just a spirit general. That's pretty fast. Bing glanced at Tang Tian, slightly surprised. The shock was obvious. Investigate thoroughly. We must definitely investigate thoroughly. This mechanical weapon definitely could not have appeared out of nowhere. There must be a mechanical engineer behind it. We need to find this mechanical engineer and the power he belongs to, at all costs. One of the clan elders said in a deep voice. Finally, they successfully fused the Star Spirit Beasts and the Blood Meridian's power and created a different kind of mechanical weapon. This brand new mechanical weapon was named the Blood Meridian's weapon. Although it was different, it was extremely powerful. The organization that had been dormant for so many years was full of ambition, waiting for one brilliant feat to shock the world. Bing cannot be said to be happy or sad, but he sighed. That's right. The man sharpening his sword nodded. His Heaven Road grade martial artist ranking has always been within the top 10,000. He stayed in Guo Village for 5 years, and his ranking has not dropped out of 10,000. This fellow is too strong. I'm done playing, it's time to go back. Bing's tone was somewhat lazy. In his eyes, the group of people chasing after them were all rookies. And that fellow uses a spear. The black-clothed swordsman yawned. Should be Heaven Road grade. Not Heaven Road grade, but definitely not far from it. If he could grind 10,000 anvils, then how strong would the meridians in his arms be? He brought them in a big circle to a place that even he did not know. Tang Tian was filled with anticipation. The black-clothed swordsman nodded his head in agreement. Among all the Heaven Road grade martial artists, to be able to fight their way into the top 10,000, that was a true expert. Martial artists who had just stepped into the Heaven Road grade did not have a ranking. Only when you continuously fought, discovered new routes, etc., would your ranking gradually rise. The 5 people that Ling Su killed were not nameless people. The Guo family 5 tigers had some reputation amongst the wandering swordsmen. Their combined might was comparable to a Heaven Road grade martial artist. But it seems like the golden age of mechanical martial artists is about to begin. Bing muttered to himself, seems like I have to catch little Tang Tang to train. I cannot let him be completely taken away by Ghost Claw. With how abnormal this guy is, it shouldn't be difficult for him to learn. That must be it. To be able to kill them, Ling Su, the absolute power he displayed, made people not doubt that Ling Su was a Heaven's Road grade martial artist. His figure gradually faded until it disappeared. Bing casually walked to Ghost Claw's side. Seems like he has improved quite a bit. After a while, he should be able to master it. He purposely brought them in the opposite direction. Bing did not know how far they were from Three Spirit City. These people would never have thought that as long as he was in the spirit region, he could return to the spirit hall's entrance at will. In the spirit region, the connection between the spirit general and the master was even closer. Bing realized, in the spirit region, no matter how far away he was, he could still clearly sense the position of Tang Tian and the entrance of the martial spirit chamber. What surprised him the most was that he could return to the entrance of Spirit Hall. In real time, there's still 1.5 months. Ghost Claw's gaze did not leave Tang Tian's body, but Bing could hear the unconcealable joy and excitement in his tone. The Heaven's Road rankings were unknown from the start to the current authority after 700 years of development. Bing was in a daze. Hearing the sound coming closer, Bing stopped his wild thoughts, looked at the black in the distance, and could not help but grin. The Heaven's Road rankings was created by the collaboration of Cepheus constellation and Cassiopeia constellation. It had a set of complicated calculations. Bing irresponsibly decided on this idea. Yes, they used the Fire Crow Fairy and thought they could win with numbers, but who knew that the opponent's speed was so fast and exhausted them to death? The black-clothed swordsman stretched his back and said. The black-clothed swordsman was very familiar with his good friend's character, laughed silently, and said, "They were killed by one person." Ghost Claw did not have any disciples in his life, and this young man in front of him was the result of his blood, sweat, and tears. Ghost Claw did not say a word, and only stared at the figure that was gasping for breath in the sparks. A strange look flashed past the eyes of the man grinding the sword, but his expression was calm. "You came to find me. Don't tell me you want to tell me this." This was also the main reason why he was so motivated. "He is very hard-working," Ghost Claw said coldly. But at the same time, it attracted the attention of a few strong martial artists. In the past, he did not wish for Tang Tian to put his energy on the mechanical weapons, because he felt that mechanical weapons were already outdated, and that was a path that had been proven wrong by the era. Every single wandering swordsman who witnessed the battle could not help but think of a phrase, Heaven Road grade martial artist. But in this period of contact with Sky Tiger and meeting King Kong, it made him realize that the new mechanical era had arrived. These new mechanical weapons, compared to his era, were much stronger. So, the Wu family 5 tigers were his students. The black-clothed swordsman said, "Then they are in trouble." Heaven Road grade martial artists in Corvus Constellation also had a strong deterrent force, and along the way, there were no thieves or thieves. He did not know where the end of the road was. To Tang Tian and the rest, the small interlude on the road did not attract their attention. And all the wandering swordsmen who were spying on them in the dark were all stunned by Ling Su. Ling Su's methods did not seem to be ingenious, but he displayed his strength to the fullest. This kind of pure strength made people even more fearful. The strongest mechanical martial artists in the organization were all sent out, following the direction of the target's escape route. What he had become stronger was not only his 10 fingers, regardless of whether it was his fists or palms, the power was much stronger than before. The Guo family 5 tigers were killed. The person who spoke was tall, dressed in a black swordsman, with a frivolous smile on his face. "Just one person?" The man grinding the sword paused. "So, didn't I come to find you?" The black-clothed swordsman laughed mischievously and said quickly, "What's more, if we really can't win, we can run." But as long as there was a bit of hope, why would he give up? The opponent is a Heaven's Road grade martial artist. The man grinding the sword reminded him. The black-clothed swordsman who was exposed was not the least bit embarrassed. "I heard that Master Mo has a silver-rank Southern Carp sword. I have been eyeing it for a long time. Since Master Mo can't use it, the silver-rank Sky Horse Carriage. How cool. I think Master Mo will definitely be willing to exchange it." Liu Yiji's face darkened. His companion beside him tactfully kept quiet. The man grinding the sword frowned. What are you thinking about, Master Amo? They did not expect to stumble at such a crucial juncture, causing the entire higher-ups of the organization to be shaken. King Kong was already an outstanding mechanical weapon in the organization, and Liu Yizhi was also a famous expert in the organization, but he was actually defeated by another mechanical martial artist. With their current poverty, to let Sai Lei create a mechanical weapon for Tang Tian, who knew how long it would take. It could be seen that the opponent's mechanical weapon was actually equally outstanding, or maybe even more outstanding. Guodong. The black-clothed swordsman's frivolous expression disappeared, and his expression became serious. That is a tough one. The successive generations of immortal kings and empresses had always maintained a just stance and never participated in the struggles of the local powerhouses. Because of that, the Heaven's Road rankings had become deeply trusted by the people. Cepheus Constellation and Cassiopeia Constellation both had exceptional martial artists, but they stood aloof from worldly affairs and worked together to establish immortal martial dojos on various planets. After generations of operation, these immortal martial dojos had already opened up in the various planets of Heaven's Road. Tang Tian was completely immersed in training, although the colors of his fingers did not change much. But in his body, the meridians connected to his fingers were strengthened by 5 times. The man grinding the sword thought for a while and said, "Don't be anxious." The 5 Guo family tigers came from the Guo family sword village. The Guo family is the most rude and unreasonable. How would they let it go so easily? I remember that the teacher of the 5 Guo family tigers should be Guodong. Just now, Liu Yizhi had been interrogated for a full 4 hours. The matter this time was truly too big. The organization had been established for more than 1,000 years. It was an organization formed by mechanical engineers, with a long history. From the first day it was established, they had been working hard on how to revive the era of mechanical weapons. Suddenly, he came back to his senses. His poker face, which was full of drawing style, smiled self-mockingly. Bing, who was born in the Southern Cross Army, naturally did not need a reason to hate Blood Meridian's weapons. In his eyes, it was simply a freak. Luckily, they had already found traces of the other party. "Huh, you really understand me." The black-clothed swordsman laughed out loud. "Master Mo's birthday is coming up. Us 2 poor turtles do not have anything to give. I see that carriage is not bad. The silver heavenly horse. If we give it to Master Mo, it will definitely be presentable." Bing's return did not alarm Tang Tian, as Tang Tian was engrossed in grinding the anvil. 5 tigers? Are they even worthy? The person who spoke did not even raise his head, but the disdain in his words was clear. What Tang Tian did not know was that in another place, Bing had also caused a storm. He carefully sharpened his sword, and from time to time, he would hold the sword in his hand and look at the sword ridge. Bing glanced into the distance, a cold intent flashing past his eyes. Using his speed to exhaust the 5 of them to death? Just him alone? The man grinding the sword was moved. If the mechanical engineer was alone, it would be easy to handle, but if the opponent was a powerhouse, then to them, it meant that they had a strong competitor. This really makes me look forward to it. How powerful will a person like him be? Bing was also looking forward to it. If Tang Tian could master the Grandmaster Grade Fire Scythe Ghost Claw, coupled with the Peacock Armor, how strong would he be? Chapter 204. Sparks flew everywhere. Tang Tian and the stone gravel beast both retreated. That was Zilala. No. The coachman was experienced and immediately suggested, but to replenish our food and water, we just need to find a sword village. Go to the back. Xie Qing said. His little sister was after all a girl. Her physical strength was weaker. In such an intense battle, to be able to persevere till now was completely putting her life on the line. The explosive sound was like a deep thunder, suddenly coming out from the stone gravel beast body. The stone gravel beast body suddenly exploded, the stone gravel splattering everywhere like rain. Bang! Tang Tian was like a fierce tiger killing its way into a flock of sheep. His body was faintly discernible in the dazzling and beautiful sparks. Every claw was like a heavy hammer. Physical strength could be recovered from meditation, but the mental exhaustion could not be removed, and sleep was extremely outstanding in this aspect. Also, after a long period of high-intensity training, while the meridians were strengthened, it would also leave behind some hidden injuries, and during sleep, true power would mend these hidden injuries. Stepping on the fence, Tang Tian opened up his arms and jumped down. Corvus constellation has a very special star spirit beast. The locals call it the stone gravel beast. The stone gravel beast likes to swallow all sorts of sand and stones, and in their body there are usually large amounts of metal. These metal pieces are only found in Corvus constellation, so everyone calls it Corvus gold. The merchants outside love to buy Corvus gold. Everyone uses it to exchange for food. Bang! Looking at the intense battle below, Tang Tian felt his blood vessels expanding, his fighting intent surging. Is it the stone gravel beast? Tang Tian opened his eyes wide, curiously sizing it up. The stone gravel beast froze in its original position. Its chest shockingly had a basin-sized hole. Xie Qing and Xie Wan were stunned, momentarily forgetting that they were still in a battle. Dong! Looking at the ceiling, Tang Tian's thoughts drifted far away. All the villagers below were retreating step by step. The stone gravel beast's body had a bowl-sized hole, and the stone gravel beast became a pile of sand and stones. The stone gravel beast's body was huge, with a head and 4 limbs, about 4 to 5 meters tall. Some of the taller ones could even reach a height of 7 m. Their bodies were completely made up of stone gravel and looked extremely ugly. Although it couldn't be said to be nimble, its movements weren't slow at all, and its strength was surprisingly great. Their fists were all boulders. When they punched, the earth would shake and the mountains would splatter. With the help of the wings, Tang Tian landed heavily on the ground. Killing the stone gravel beast in one move was nothing. Xie Qing could do it too. It was a brand new day. Tang Tian was not to be outdone. He roared angrily and took the initiative to attack. Sir! The coachman noticed Tang Tian and hurriedly saluted. Boom! Tang Tian's fire scythe ghost claw, although had not reached the grandmaster level, but it was already quite mature. Xie Qing's sword pierced into the body of the stone gravel beast in front of him. True power gushed out, bang. The stone gravel beast's body had an additional deep hole the size of a bowl. Just as he was about to crash into the ground, an angry roar rang out. Peacock! He directly jumped into the group of stone gravel beasts. All around him were stone gravel beasts. The surrounding stone gravel beasts roared angrily, waving their gigantic boulders, smashing towards Tang Tian. Xie Qing gasped for breath. His true power was almost depleted. It seemed like the village could not be saved. He clenched his teeth, turned to Xie Wan, and said, Tell second uncle, the entire village is at the back of the mountain. But this weakness was used in this situation. It was extremely suitable. There was actually not a single stone gravel beast that could block his attack. Corvus gold? What is that? Tang Tian was even more curious. Tang Tian's fire-scythe ghost claw was blocked by a stone gravel beast. Dang! Tang Tian looked at the scenery below him and quickly retreated backwards. The carriage had a layer of true power, and the wind could not enter. Shuttling back and forth in the cotton like clouds, it was extremely interesting. Tang Tian scratched his head. He had been sitting for so many days, and only now did he realize that flying was so interesting. An astonishing wave of chi flowed out. The ground around his legs had cracks like spider webs. The silver Pegasus pulled the silver carriage, shuttling back and forth in the clouds. Their speed was extremely fast. They had fought with the stone gravel beasts every day, and they knew the characteristics of the stone gravel beasts like the back of their hands. The stone gravel beasts were not hard to kill. As long as the spirit nucleus in their bodies was destroyed, they would die and become a pile of sand and stones. But their bodies were much more durable than anyone could imagine. The mixture of sand and stones were stuck together by a strange liquid, and to explode them was extremely difficult. Tang Tian opened his eyes and felt his entire body brimming with energy. He had a good sleep just now. Every 7 days of continuous cultivation, he would have a good sleep. Sword Village. It was Tang Tion's first time hearing of this term. Dazzling sparks blossomed in the air. Tang Tion's 5 fingers were like hooks. In a flash, they pierced into the body of the stone gravel beast. Tang Tion shouted, one leg stepping on the railing, the peacock wings spreading out. His expression was excited. After grinding the anvil for so many days, it was so boring that he wanted to vomit. The other stone gravel beast raised its right arm, and the rock fist whistled as it smashed towards Tang Tian. No matter how powerful an expert was, after a period of time, they would still need to sleep. Shua, with both arms raised up, Tang Tian, who was lying on the bed, shouted, Tang Tian, do your best. Tang Tian was like a meteorite falling down. The strong wind blowing on his face was like knives. The scenery below him rapidly enlarged. His fighting intent became even more excited. Damn it! The silver sky horse carriage, compared to any carriage he had sat in before, was of a much higher grade. Regardless of the flying height or speed, it was much more outstanding. The carriage driver said, Corvus Constellation is very desolate and very barren. There are almost no production here, and there is very little drinking water and farming. So there are very few cities. Most of them are villages, and most of the villages in Corvus Constellation are sword villages. I don't know why Corvus Constellation is not suitable for farming. Stone gravel beasts are usually very stupid. They will definitely not organize such an attack. There must be a stone gravel beast king. The carriage driver's face revealed a look of fear. But master, the carriage driver said, we need to find a place to replenish our water and food. The food and water in the carriage are not enough. The sword tip transmitted a hard feeling. Xieching's eyes flashed with a trace of true power. But when Tang Tian's gaze continuously swept across the group of stone gravel beasts, he did not find any traces of the Beast King. And the villagers below could not hold on any longer and were showing signs of collapsing. The stone gravel beasts suddenly exploded in front of him. Very good. The carriage driver could not help but praise. As expected of the silver sky horse, this subordinate's first time driving such a high-grade carriage, it feels great. But like that, to directly explode the stone gravel beasts, Xieching knew he could not do it. Brother. Xiaowan gasped for breath. She was sweating profusely. The hand holding the sword was trembling uncontrollably, her face slightly pale. Tang Tian felt that what the carriage driver said was very reasonable. The stone gravel beasts below were like a tide, and there were probably over 1,000 of them. The village's defense had already been destroyed to the point of being full of holes, and the situation was extremely dangerous. Tang Tian laughed. This carriage is not bad, right? Bang! Such a mystical place. Tang Tian's face was full of surprise. Suddenly he noticed a movement below. What's that? Most of them are transported here by the merchants outside. The carriage driver said. They need to use Corvus gold to exchange for food. Not good. The carriage driver's face changed. It's the stone gravel beasts. They're surrounding the village. God, why are there so many stone gravel beasts? Don't tell me there's a stone gravel beast king. Xieching did not bother to wipe his sweat. He noticed that his little sister was in danger. He suddenly exerted strength in his legs. His body was like lightning. In a moment he appeared beside the stone gravel beast, the sword in his hand piercing into the stone gravel beast's body. Seeing the smoke of the village, Xieching's eyes flashed a trace of sorrow. He could not remember how many stone gravel beasts he had killed, but the stone gravel beasts in front of him were still densely packed, like a tide that could not be seen. Are there any cities nearby? Tang Tian asked. Xieching's words suddenly stopped, his pupils congealing. The stone gravel beast's body became sluggish. The light in its eyes faded, and it became a pile of sand and stones in front of him. Then where did their food come from? Tang Tian asked in surprise. The fireside ghost claw was originally a fierce and violent claw technique. Tang Tian's current fireside ghost claw had not reached the realm where he could control it as he pleased. Every claw would involuntarily use his full strength. This meant that his control over his strength was still lacking. Such a large-scale attack. It was extremely possible that there was a king beast commanding. Suddenly, Xie quivered. A stone gravel beast barged into his field of vision. A stone gravel arm, as thick as a bucket, suddenly smashed towards Xie. This stone gravel beast was different from all the stone gravel beasts Tang Tian had met before. Its body shape was similar to a normal human. Its eyes were two brown, sparkling stones. Its body was mixed with bits of metal gravel. Its body shape was not the least bit bloated, but had an indescribable sense of beauty. After shouting, he quickly got out of bed, washed up, and walked towards the front of the carriage. Walking to the front of the carriage, a majestic silver Pegasus entered his vision. This Pegasus was not a real object, but was formed from the true power in the star stones. Tang Tian did not have any intention of dodging. He did not retreat, but instead advanced, brazenly rushing into the chest of the stone gravel beast. In the village below, an intense battle was happening. When Xie saw the stone gravel beast, he cried out, "Stone gravel beast king!" The stone fist heavily smashed into the ground behind Tang Tian. Tang Tian's 5 fingers brought along a dazzling spark, fiercely piercing into the stone gravel beast's chest. Xie eyes suddenly surfaced a touch of blood. Without thinking, his body followed his sword, and a white rainbow pierced through the sky. From time to time, a low rumble of thunder sounded out. Sand and sparks mixed together in the heavy rain. Tang Tian brazenly advanced, sweeping everything in his way, as though he was breaking dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Ha ha ha! Tang Tian was extremely pleased. He put his hands on his waist and laughed out loud. Was the sword village really going to be destroyed today? The peacock wings on his back opened up. Tang Tian's falling momentum slowed down. He only felt a strong force coming from his back. His body stopped in the air. Ling Su, come out. Chapter 205. With his 18 multiplier intuition, Tang Tian's sensitivity to danger was far beyond that of a normal person. From the moment he landed until now, the normal stone gravel beasts were like vegetables in his hands. Not a single stone gravel beast gave him the slightest bit of danger. Xie was extremely excited. Upon appearing, Xiewan's gaze was attracted to him. Bang! He originally did not have much stamina left. After the fight, he was so tired that he was gasping for breath. Ling Su had been wandering outside for a long time and had a lot of battle experience, although it was his first time seeing a stone gravel beast. But after a few rounds, he was able to find out the weakness of these big-sized beasts. The rain was extremely heavy. The sky and earth were covered in water, and the figure in the rain was somewhat blurry. If not for the fact that everyone present had astonishing eyesight, they would not have been able to see it. Plop! Tang Tian, who was in the rain, fell. Tang Tian stared at the stone gravel beast in front of him. His expression congealed. The stone gravel beast king in front of him was releasing a dangerous chi. The black metal right hand, in Tang Tian's eyes, was extremely clear. Tang Tian's pupils shrunk. It was all metal hand. Tang Tian was extremely excited. He looked at the meal box in front of him. The meal box was extremely beautiful. The volume was huge. Xie respectfully opened the lid. Thank you. Even the muscles on his face had different degrees of injuries. Ling Su was taken aback. He raised his head. A delicate and pretty face entered his vision. Xiewan met Ling Su's gaze and immediately became flustered. The handkerchief in his hand stuffed into Ling Su's hand and turned to run. Xie immediately ordered the villagers not to go near and disturb Tang Tian. The sparks enveloped the 2 figures. Xie and the rest could only see 2 shadows in the sparks. Eating. Tang Tian was extremely comfortable fighting. It was such a small piece, even if he wiped it, it would be useless. Ling Su's face was puzzled. He looked at the snow-white handkerchief, and then looked at his body that was drenched in sweat. Ling Su heaved a sigh of relief. The silver hair on his forehead was completely drenched in sweat. They retreated. Tang Tian let out a long howl. His claw shadows were like the wind, fighting speed with speed. Such a bad thing. Shouldn't it be done by Bing? Indeed, he who keeps company with ink will be stained black. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew past, and raindrops the size of beans fell with a pitter-patter. In the blink of an eye, it became a downpour. Without thinking, Tang Tian exerted strength in his legs, his body lowered, like an arrow leaving the bow. He pounced towards the stone gravel beast king. His 5 fingers that were hanging by his side swept across the air. Suddenly, his fingertips lit up with a red light that looked like a burning brand. The light increased rapidly, and with a crackling sound, sparks bloomed on Tang Tian's fingertips. The sparks quickly became blazing and dazzling. Tang Tian wished he could roar into the sky. He couldn't remember how many days he had been grinding the anvil. It was an extremely boring cultivation day after day. At this moment, the suppressed battle intent completely erupted. Being able to spar with a powerful fellow always made Tang Tian excited. A bowl of cold water and half a steam bun. His body was agile, coming and going like lightning. Every spear never missed. Suddenly, a sharp whistle came out from afar. The whistle was ear-piercing, causing Tang Tian's mind to go into a trance. The stone gravel beast king's eyes lit up with a faint light aura. It fiercely retreated, not even looking at Tang Tian, and flew far away. But the opponent was not having it easy either. Tang Tian had very sinisterly added the sharp crane body energy into the violent and ferocious fire scythe Ghost Claw. Countless sparks suddenly exploded out from Tang Tian's fire scythe Ghost Claw, just like fireworks. And the surging earth affinity true power suddenly exploded out from the stone gravel beast king's fists. The sturdy ground was like a ripple, spreading out in all directions. This is a true martial artist. Hey, you asshole. Ling Su's face was full of pity. No choice, this is the path he chose. All the stone gravel beasts retreated like the tide, leaving behind sand and stones on the ground. Ding, ding, ding. Xie Wan responded, and immediately went to prepare. From the looks of it, he was a powerful fellow. He seemed to completely rely on his intuition, and that caused his moves to be untraceable. The stone gravel beast king's brown crystal-clear eyes flashed with a light aura and raised its right fist. Tang Tian's eyes stared straight. Even Tang Tian and Ling Su were stunned by the astonishing power, but the two of them did not pursue. Tang Tian's gaze was fixated on the stone gravel beast king. The stone gravel beast king's figure very quickly disappeared. Rumble. Xie Qing's expression was aghast. His gaze was more attracted to the intense battle between Tang Tian and the stone gravel beast king. One man and one beast, fighting fiercely. The scene was extremely explosive. Tang Tian's 5 fingers went numb. The surging earth affinity true power carried a huge force, and Tang Tian felt as though he was fighting with a heavy hammer. When Tang Tian called him just now, he was immersed in training, and at this moment his entire body was drenched in sweat. Ling Su glanced at him. The silver spear in his hand was like a poisonous dragon coming out of its cave. Sigh. The sound of the spear breaking through the air could be heard. This feeling was really good. Such a young man. Every muscle in his body was trembling. The meridians in his body were all filled with hidden injuries, and he would need to spend a few days to fully recover. Ling Su, you're dead. The stone gravel beast is retreating. When Tang Tian rushed to the pavilion, he sat on a stone bench, panting with all his might. Using all his strength to activate the fire scythe Ghost Claw to sustain such a high-intensity battle, to the current Tang Tian, it was still beyond his capabilities. Tang Tian then realized no wonder the fire scythe Ghost Claw was a 7th-level martial technique. In the wind and rain, Tang Tian stumbled along, and even fell a few times. His body was covered in mud and water. But because of the injuries on his face, his current expression was unspeakably dazed. Tang Tian's expression was like he was holding in his shit. Just now, he was too engrossed in the fight, and Tang Tian did not hold back at all. When he was fighting, he did not feel it, but after the fight, Tang Tian realized that he did not hold back his strength in the fight, although it was satisfying, but it did harm to his own body. He patted Tang Tian's shoulder and said sincerely, "The scenery here is not bad. Take your time to admire it." So powerful. Xia Wan was stunned. Her gaze was firmly attracted to Ling Su. Like the wind, his figure brought along a dazzling and gorgeous light belt. The fire-scythe ghost claw and the stone gravel beast king's fist clashed. Xie Qing immediately looked over, and, as expected, the lonely figure in the rain trembled and immediately stumbled over. The villagers' cheers exploded out, and an unnoticeable smile blossomed on his face. "Master, please enjoy your meal," Xie Qing said respectfully. Xie Qing was moved. To train one's willpower must be unwavering, with such strength. To be able to be so self-disciplined and bitterly trained, that's too amazing. The stone gravel beast king's fist was actually completely metallized. The black metal palm was covered with specks of gold stars, looking like the night sky, mysterious and beautiful. The violent sparks became unpredictable. Ling Su turned and left under Tang Tian's scolding and walked out for 30 m, blocking Xie Qing, who was about to step forward, and said seriously, "Please do not disturb him. He is currently thinking about something important." But it was really satisfying. He suddenly regained his senses and immediately ordered, "Little sister, quickly go and prepare the food. Remember, half a bun, a bowl of cold water." It was as though a burning red iron claw was continuously hitting a heavy hammer. Every claw would cause sparks to fly, and the concentrated sounds of collisions made it hard for people to breathe. In a pavilion 300 m away, Ling Su smiled as he received the hot tea from Xie Wan and leisurely sipped on it. He had just taken a hot bath, changed into a clean set of clothes, and the hot tea flowed down his throat. It was an indescribable comfort. Tang Tian's spirit was roused. "Good. Wait for this brother to eat his fill. Then we will settle this debt." Ghost Claw did not teach Tang Tian any of the fire scythe Ghost Claw techniques, so Tang Tian knew how to create sparks in the air. But Tang Tian did not have the slightest bit of fear because of that. Instead, he used all sorts of techniques, without any rhyme or reason to it. Hearing that, Xie Qing hurriedly nodded his head. Okay. He glanced at Tang Tian, but Tang Tian was still staring at the direction the stone gravel beast king left, as though he was in a daze. Ling Su muttered in his heart and stuffed it into his pocket. He decided that it would be better to take a bath later. Ling Su carried a spear and walked to Tang Tian's side. "Hey, what are you looking at?" Currently, Tang Tian looked to be in a sorry state, but in Xie Qing's eyes, the figure of a martial artist who was determined to train bitterly, who had a big heart, who had given up all the pleasures of life, was so clear, so majestic. Ling Su rushed over at this time. The ground was trembling, and the momentum was extremely terrifying. Ling Su followed the mud wall of the sword village and rushed back and forth. After a few rounds, the pressure on the crumbling mud wall immediately disappeared. Suddenly, a soft hand passed over a handkerchief. Tang Tian clenched his teeth and cursed, floating in the rain. The stone gravel beast king only felt the pressure suddenly increase. Just at this time, Xie Qing Wan suddenly noticed the figure in the rain moving and exclaimed, "Master Tang is moving." His own claw technique was proficient in breaking through fortifications. With this claw, the stone gravel beast king's body could not help but sway. Xie Qing muttered to himself, his eyes filled with fanatical worship. Hey, Ling Su, how can you be like this?" Xie Qing looked at the lonely figure in the rain, his eyes filled with admiration, and said, "Senior Tang truly has a firm martial heart. In such a torrential rain, he is enlightened and forgets himself. He is truly a role model for my generation." Even those stone gravel beasts that were not afraid of death, all moved aside. If they were not careful, they would be trapped in the battlefield and immediately be smashed into pieces. He did not hold back at all. In truth, with his current attainments in the fire-scythe Ghost Claw, he could not hold back. Every attack was made with all his might. The rhythm of the battle was so fast that he completely relied on his instincts. A martial artist should be like this. My body can't move. The spear was like a shooting star, red embellished with raging flames, silver hair draped over his shoulders, gold-threaded white robe. He stood there like a statue, not moving an inch. Ling Su was stunned for a moment, and then burst out laughing. Ha ha! The muscles on his body were as taut as steel. He was actually unable to relax. The pitiful Tang Tian immediately became a drowned rat. The girl's voice was gentle like water, with a tinge of shyness. Spear techniques were originally proficient in fighting and killing on the battlefield. He was like a killing god. Everywhere he went, people would fall and horses would fall. It was rare for him to be able to make a comeback. Even Ling Su felt that he had exceeded his usual standards. Tang Tian's eyes revealed a look of excitement, the fighting intent in his chest becoming more and more intense. He stared fiercely at Ling Su, his eyes spewing fire. Ling Su's stomach was about to cramp from laughing, but his face maintained his composure. That's right, he is that kind of person. He is wholeheartedly focused on martial arts and worships bitter training. When you guys prepare food for him, it must be clear soup with little water, especially not a bit of oil, and cannot have meat. Half a steam bun, a bowl of cold water, that is enough. Chapter 206. Wah wah wah. Quickly look, is there me? Tang Tian heard that there was such a fun thing, and immediately became excited. Xie looked at Tang Tian's expression. It did not look fake, but he felt weird. Master was so strong. How could he not know such common sense? Tang Tian impatiently poured his true power into the card. You guys did not move because of this? Tang Tian could not help but ask. Just lifting a finger. You don't have to worry about it. Tang Tian put his hands on his waist and laughed out loud. He was humble, but his face was full of pride. This is me and Ling Su. Tang Tian pointed at the silver carriage and little man in the light beam. His eyes lit up, full of joy. It's the stone gravel beast king. Xie face was covered with frost, full of worry. The stone gravel beast king is rarely seen. I never thought that there would be one here. Without the beast king, the stone gravel beasts are just a group of stupid beasts. With the beast king, it would be dangerous. But luckily Master took action. If not, the village would have been in trouble. Xie smile became even more bitter, but it was obvious that he agreed. He patiently explained, yes, the Heaven's Road list is the most authoritative list, but only Heaven's Road grade martial artists can be listed on it. The Heaven's Road list was created by the collaboration of Cepheus Constellation and Cassiopeia Constellation. They gathered information from the immortal martial dojos all over Heaven's Road, according to the realm, martial techniques, battle results, to create the list. Heaven's Road list? Tang Tian's eyes lit up, full of curiosity. What is that? Is it the ranking of the experts? The Corvus Gold was a metal lump of different sizes. Its entire body was dark gray. On the surface there were many gold spots, but it felt abnormally light. Guardian of a sword? Tang Tian was stunned. It was the first time he heard of such a term. The Heaven's Road list, that was the battlefield of the geniuses, and had nothing to do with him. He was just a poor boy in a poor sword village in a poor mountain valley. Tang Tian did not even think of asking for payment, and he could tell the village was extremely poor. The houses were all short and broken. His eyes fell on a small pile of metal in the warehouse, and he was very interested. This is Corvus Gold? Behind the village stood a lone peak, casting a shadow, causing the sword village to be shrouded in a layer of sadness. The martial artists of the Honorable Martial Alliance would often be in the wilderness, where one would not be able to buy immortal martial news. Although the Honorable Martial Plate's teleportation was expensive, but to the rich, it was nothing. Tang Tian immediately thought of Sai Lei and straightforwardly said, I just happen to have a mechanical engineer friend. Then I will take it all. The Honorable Martial brand seller had all sorts of strange items, which left a deep impression on Tang Tian. The faces of the villagers all turned white, and on Xie face, fear surfaced. Guodong became famous very early. About 10 years ago, he became a Heaven's Road grade martial artist. Xie bit his lips, and 7 years ago, he fought his way into the top 10,000 of the Heaven's Road list. Since then, he has never dropped out of the Heaven Road list. He is now ranked 9,928. What a light metal. When Xie said that, his face flushed red. Where is the immortal martial dojo? Tang Tian's heart was itching. Recently his strength had increased greatly, and he should have stepped into the Heaven's Road grade. Then wouldn't his name be able to appear in front of the entire world? On everyone's faces, there were still remnants of sadness, but at that moment, everyone did not care about it and worked hard. The mud wall protecting the Sword Village had collapsed in many places, and the villagers needed to quickly reinforce the wall, so that when the stone gravel beast came, they would have something to rely on. When Tang Tian crawled out of his bed, he walked out of his room and looked at the messy Sword Village. He could not help but be speechless. He then remembered Ghost Claw's skinny body, but it contained a surprising amount of power. What's the matter? Xie gaze suddenly became as sharp as a sword. Are the stone gravel beasts coming again? Xie sighed in his heart. In the past, he was also filled with fighting spirit and ambition, but reality made him understand he was just an ordinary person, far from being a genius. A little fart ranked in the top 10,000. Dare to be so arrogant? Humph humph. It had already been 3 days since the soul-stirring battle, but to the Sword Village, it did not signify the end. Many of the doors of the houses were hung with black muslin. Tang Tian knew that meant that someone in the family had died. The sword light aura dissipated and fell back into Xie hands. Is it that very steep mountain? Tang Tian could not help but be surprised. The mountain peak was towering, extremely precipitous, like a sword pointing to the sky. A silver sword-shaped card. On it was written the word Gua. He had not paid attention to the honorable martial plate for a long time. If it was not training, then it was fighting whatever honorable martial alliance had long been thrown to the back of his mind. Xie laughed bitterly. It has something to do with the back mountain that Master just mentioned. I'm not any master, just call me Tian. Tang Tian blushed with shame. He then asked curiously, You guys built the mud wall. Is it to defend against the stone gravel beasts? He did not expect that there would be so many people selling, and the price was rather cheap. Tang Tian did not say anything and bought the latest issue. Master has to go to the Immortal Martial School to buy a specialized Immortal Martial News. Then you will know. Xie introduced. There will be a lot of news about Heaven's Road, any experts appearing out of nowhere, which aristocratic families and which constellation geniuses have recently done something big. There will be an introduction. If Master wants to understand more about Heaven's Road, the Immortal Martial News is a good choice. Thinking about that, Tang Tian immediately bid farewell to Xie, rushed back to his room, and immediately injected true power into the honorable martial plate. Tang Tian was poor, but the Immortal Martial News was more interesting to him. Xie and the villagers' face changed. Both of their gazes could not help but look at Tang Tian. Wah! If that's the case, it could not be better. Mechanical engineer? Tang Tian's face was blank. I've never heard of it. Once a Heaven's Road grade martial artist made a move, it would at least cost a few 100,000 star coins. That was the market price. Very quickly, a blue card with Cepheus constellation and Cassiopeia constellation appeared in Tang Tian's honorable martial plate. Only someone like Master could be linked to the Immortal Martial News. Xie heart was filled with envy. It was originally Master's spoils of war. Xie blushed. It's really. The sky blue card was rather beautiful. Tang Tian's arrival caused a commotion among the villagers, and very quickly someone reported to Xie. Xie immediately jumped down and said embarrassedly, Master, why did you come here? It's too dirty and messy here. What was his rank? So curious. No. The villager ran too quickly and was somewhat out of breath, and said intermittently, Sword order. Big brother Qing, look at this sword order. Xie weathered face could not help but reveal a helpless smile. But in truth, no one has ever seen any treasured sword. Ever since I was young, I have been searching for treasured swords on that mountain, and dug 3 feet deep, but did not find a single trace of it. None of our ancestors have ever seen a treasured sword, and we all suspect the duty that was passed down is actually real or fake. Xie shook his head. Our village is too secluded. There are no immortal martial dojos. If Master wants to buy immortal martial news, you have to go to a big city. I have not paid attention to such matters for a long time. Xie slapped his forehead. That's right, Master. Please follow me. Xie brought Tang Tian to a warehouse, opened it, and said gratefully, These Corvus gold were all cleared out the last time. These are Master's spoils of war. The village is too poor. There is nothing to thank Master. It's really. He injected true power into the sword order. An array of light shot out from the sword order. In the light, a luxurious silver carriage, a silver-haired young man, and an extremely sloppy-looking young man stood side by side in front of the carriage. Tang Tian, who was initially curious upon hearing the voice, immediately frowned and became unhappy. Who is this fellow? What a big tone. And this time, Tang Tian was taken aback. It sounds very powerful. Tang Tian's eyes lit up as he listened. The Honorable Martial Plate had accumulated a lot of points. He had a certain amount of points every month, until now. It was not a small amount. But at the moment, he could not care about anything else, and hurriedly went to see if there was any news of immortal martial news. As for Guodong, oh, who was he? When Tang Tian found Xie, he was bare-chested, carrying a huge piece of wood, continuously pounding the mud wall. No, Xie laughed bitterly. Usually, the stone gravel beasts would never attack the village. They are very stupid. The mud wall is only to prevent the beasts. Fire Crow Executioner, Guo Family Sword Village's Sword Master Guodong. Xie face gradually regained his calmness, but deep in his eyes, there was still a trace of fear. Yes, Xie explained, that mountain peak is called Stone Sword Peak. The ancestors have always passed down. The mountain is suppressing a treasured sword with a long history. And the mission of my CF family is to guard this treasured sword. Haha, don't mind it. Tang Tian was suddenly curious. Why don't you guys change a location? I see that the surrounding terrain is very flat. There's no danger to defend, and it doesn't seem to be on the main road. Why don't you guys move to the back of the mountain? I see that the mountain is steep, easy to defend, and hard to attack. Just at this time, a villager suddenly stumbled in. Brother Qing, bad news. Bad news. Xie sighed. This is a long story. Our CF family is the guardian of the sword. Hearing Xie words, Tang Tian was greatly disappointed. Suddenly, he had an idea. Didn't he have the Honorable Martial Plate? The pitiful Tang Tian did not have the strength to find trouble with Ling Su. He laid on the bed for a full 3 days before recovering. This deeply reminded him, with his current true power, to use the fire scythe Ghost Claw without restraint. His body could not take it. Sword order? Xie gaze suddenly congealed. Anyone who has seen this carriage and this person, quickly report. If there is anyone who does not report, the entire village will be implicated. Not even the chickens and dogs will be spared. Just at this time, suddenly, a murderous and ruthless voice came out from the sword order. Xie saw Tang Tian's expression and knew that it was Tang Tian's first time coming into contact with Corvus gold, and smiled and introduced. Yes, we locals have no use for Corvus gold. It is basically bought by merchants. It is said that mechanical engineers like it. We usually use it to exchange for rations. The quality of this Corvus gold is not bad. If Master has a friend who is a mechanical engineer, maybe it will be useful. If you sell it, it is not worth much. Who knows? Maybe it is sold inside. Guo Family Sword Order. Xie face changed and muttered to himself. Who provoked Guodong this time? Chapter 207. The CF family, the guardian of the sword. They were not only guarding the legendary treasured sword, they were guarding the sword in their own hearts. But, hearing the words guardian of the sword, the fear in the villager's eyes gradually disappeared. His trembling legs also stopped. His gaze became resolute. Brother Qing is right. No matter what, we cannot bring disgrace to these 3 words. Really, a genius like me should be the focus of attention. Not long after he walked out, he suddenly ran in with a flustered expression. Brother Qing, Guolin brought a group of people and are heading towards our village. Tang Tian's mouth was wide open, looking at the words in front of him that were like a waterfall. He was dumbfounded. It was just a small card, but the amount of information it contained exceeded Tang Tian's imagination. All of their faces were brimming with indescribable joy. Almost everyone had forgotten about Guolin. Guardian Heart Sword. Xie Qing sighed in his heart, this time with the Guo family sword village. He was afraid that they would not rest until one of them was dead. But there was no way out. His heart was calm. The words he said was not a scheme, but his true thoughts. Guolin's eyes widened. He suddenly thought of the rumors regarding the Guardian of the Sword. He had always thought that the rumors were fake. Never did he expect that this group of Xie family were actually the Guardian of the Sword. Tang Tian snorted. He must definitely catch up to Xie. His entire body was filled with energy. A smile and fighting spirit surfaced on his face. Guolin's gaze landed on the silver carriage, his face revealing a look of joy, but immediately his face sunk. He laughed sinisterly. Xie Qing, how dare you? You actually dare to go against the Sword Order. Your entire Xie family will be buried with you. They were very clear what kind of person Guodong was. Guodong was cold and emotionless. He killed people like flies. Since he had said in the Sword Order, leave no one alive, then Guolin. Xie Qing's face changed. He said softly, you go think of a way to hold them back for a while. In the Pegasus carriage, Xie Qing only found the coachman. He immediately asked, are the two masters here? Qie Shangwan. The treasure is the immortal crown, unconfirmed. The secret treasures belonging to the immortal throne are fully recovering, and the immortal crown is gradually awakening. The sneer on Guolin's face gradually froze. He felt uneasy and said in a stern voice, do you all want to die with this guy? Think about it carefully. We're your loved ones. Don't be impulsive. The villager nodded heavily. I'll pass down the order. The villagers were in an uproar. In the past, Yun village had flourished for a time, and the population was flourishing. However, they had angered Guodong, and as a result, their entire clan was annihilated. Now, all that was left of the Cloud Village was a wasteland and wild grass. Under the efforts of the two great constellations, the Immortal Martial Network had become the strongest intelligence center in the world. It was because of their powerful intelligence gathering capabilities that the Immortal Martial Sect gradually became a colossus that could contend against the 12 ecliptic palaces. Tang Tian was shocked. He actually saw Qie's name on it. Tang Tian was like he was injected with chicken blood. He began to frantically search for Qie's news in the vast ocean of news. Xie Qing nodded his head, his eyes filled with killing intent. At most, we will risk our lives. Our Xie family sword village still has swords in our hands. That's right. Although the Xie family has declined, we cannot lose our face to meet our ancestors. He then turned to the other villagers and shouted, don't be deceived by Xie Qing. Our ancestors' sword order is very clear. If anyone dares to harbor a fugitive, the entire village will be implicated. If you know what's good for you now, I will treat it as if nothing has happened. If our ancestor is really angry, then the Yun village in the past will be your role model. Just at this time, footsteps suddenly came from behind. The cry of the Guardian Heart Sword that had disappeared for 300 years had actually appeared in Xie Qing's hands today. The Heavens Road list had already become the most authoritative list in everyone's hearts. But to Tang Tian, it was definitely a terrible thing. It was just 2 short sentences, but Tang Tian treated it as a treasure. He greedily read every single word over and over again. Although he always believed that nothing would happen to Qie, but to see Qie's news, his heart was filled with joy. The coachman said, the 2 masters are in closed-door cultivation. Xie Qing turned to look, and his face changed. Guolin brought a group of people and rushed over aggressively. At the front of the group was the villager that was just sent. He was tied up. His entire body was covered in wounds and blood. Xie Qing shook his head. His expression had already regained his calmness. He said, the Xie family sword village has guarded the sword for 700 years. We can die. We can die. but we will never do anything that is ungrateful. The name of our ancestors cannot be disgraced. The sword in our hands would rather break than bend. I will count to 3. Whoever doesn't make a move will die. Guolin's heart became even more uneasy. This made him shout, "Under our ancestors' sword, there has never been a survivor." Xie Qing immediately rushed towards Tang Tian and the rest. No one was afraid. No one was afraid. Oh, Brother Qing has trained in the cry of the Guardian Heart Sword. Oh my God, the cry of the Guardian Heart Sword. After flipping through the waiting list, he still could not find his own name. Countless people, for the sake of a name on the list, had shed their blood. In many people's eyes, the vast and distant Heaven's Road was just the names on the immortal martial news. That scene, just thinking about it, made the villagers tremble. Their legs trembled uncontrollably. This bunch of people don't know what's good for them. I am such a brilliant expert, and they actually don't know anything about it. Humph, seems like their standards are limited. Xie Qing said calmly, "If not for Master, we would already be dead. We have already died once. Even if our entire village were to die, it would be the same as before. We are the guardians of the sword. If we were to do something that goes against our morals, how will we have the face to meet our ancestors in the underworld?" "Closed-door cultivation?" Xie Qing exclaimed. His face was as white as paper. To go into closed-door cultivation at this time, it was over. Just as the sword hummed, all the villagers of the Xie family sword village raised their swords and gathered over. In the blink of an eye, the villagers had surrounded Guolin and the rest. Especially when they saw the villagers who were covered in wounds and blood, their eyes turned red. All right. The villagers did not dare to dawdle. They flew over. His thoughts were clear. The sword in his hand seemed to be responding to him. It hummed and trembled. Today's training will be doubled. On the contrary, Xie Qing's face was calm. His heart was indescribably calm. He could feel that the sword in his hand was resonating with his calm heart. Xie Qing knew that it would not be easy. The killing intent in his chest grew. He suddenly waved his sword. The sword hums could be heard from far away. Tang Tian muttered. His gaze swept back and forth. He did not miss a single word. Tang Tian's face did not look good. The villagers started to shout. The fear on their faces had disappeared. What replaced it was pride. It was as though they had been asleep for a long time. What do we do? The villager who reported the news looked at Xie Qing. His eyes were filled with fear. It had been 300 years. The Xie family finally had someone who had mastered the cry of the Guardian Heart Sword. Qie was ranked 9,563. Guolin's mouth revealed a sneer. He wanted to let Xie Qing see. At the crucial moment, nothing was more important than his own life. Cry of the Guardian Heart Sword, Xie Zitian Xing. His spirit was roused. He started to search. Xie Qing's face was filled with ridicule. It was so glaring. He struggled hard in the shocking amount of news. Finally, he found the Heaven's Road list. Xie Qing's face darkened. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Guolin, you dare to make a move on my Xie family sword village. We are the guardians of the sword. Guo family. What is that? Guolin saw the fear on the faces of the villagers and immediately calmed himself down and sneered. Xie Qing has the intention of harboring a fugitive. Whoever is able to take Xie Qing down, not only will I let bygones be bygones, I will also make a great contribution. I will personally report to the old ancestor and will definitely reward you. Godlike young lad. Go, go, go. The other villagers were attracted by the sword hums in Xie Qing's hand. The surroundings quietened down. The hums of the sword became clearer. He was too clear of the villagers. They were cowardly and selfish. They were easily frightened. Everyone felt their blood boiling. They could not help but grip the sword in their hands tightly. His face changed. Qie. Tang Tian did not know that the news from the 2 constellations was the most authoritative news in the entire Heaven's Road. Every day, there would be a huge amount of news. The immortal martial school from the various constellations would gather. Countless of people would filter and verify the information. The amount of news would naturally be huge. Tang Tian then searched for the Heaven's Road list. Oh, it could be there. After all, he was not famous. He had to search carefully. He could not miss it. Then he started to look for his name. but to no avail. The entire list did not have his name. His heart was calm. Xie was enlightened. He had been stuck in a realm for a long time. Xie calmed down. He lowered his voice. Don't spread the news. No one is allowed to leave the village. This is the cry of the Guardian Sword. Guardians of the Sword. The power of the Xie family had disappeared a long time ago. But the Xie family had a saying. Every single member of the Xie family was familiar with it. Xie had actually made it into the top 10,000. The Xie family villagers, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly burst into an uproar. Everyone's faces were filled with uncontrollable joy. Very quickly, he found Wudong. He was ranked 9,928. Guolin's face changed. Xie, you don't want to live anymore. We came to the Xie family sword village. Old ancestor knows about it. The entire place was silent. Suddenly, a sneer came out. Xie Shangwan, rank 9,563. Tang Tian was about to throw the immortal martial news away. Suddenly, he saw a name from the corner of his eyes. He stopped. This damn piece of news. It did not even have his own name. How blind. The villagers heard Xie Qing's words. The fear in their eyes grew. They wanted to say something, but stopped. Finally, in an unassuming corner, there was a small piece of news. The cry of the Guardian Sword. It was a sign that the Guardian Sword realm had reached the next level. Chapter 208. Suddenly, a low, hoarse voice came out from afar. Then we're going to watch the villagers die. Ling Su retorted without holding back. Roaring, he pounced towards Xie Qing. The lady in black was silent for a while, then said, The stone gravel beasts are Earth planet spirit beasts and can move underground without any hindrance, although their speed underground is very slow. The place where they are unable to approach is where the treasured sword is. The old man listened attentively. His expressionless face exposed a look of praise. Such a beautiful sword cry. If he is given time, his future will be limitless. The lady in black was speechless. She bit her lips tightly, to the point that it turned white. Xie Qing waited with rapt attention, the long sword in his hand, continuously vibrating, the sword cry, never stopping. Xie Qing's pupils constricted. The stone gravel beast king. That was the stone gravel beast king that fought with Tang Tian that day. Xie Qing, who had just broken through, was not afraid. His wrist flicked, the long sword carrying the buzzing sound, thrusting out. He was determined. If he could survive this time, he would not leave a single person in the Xie family sword village. Ling Su was startled, but his gaze was immediately attracted to Flamingo. I know him. The old man nodded, his empty eye sockets, like a piece of emptiness. His hoarse voice seemed to be floating in the emptiness. Fire Crow Executioner. Tang Tian's face was innocent. Am I that kind of person? The wave of air was like a hurricane, exploding out in all directions. Seeing the mountain full of stone gravel beasts like a tide, surging into the Xie family sword village. The lady in black's face behind the mask revealed a look of shock. Beside her was a blind old man, sitting in a wheelchair, a middle-aged man pushing the wheelchair from behind. Thinking about the previous encounter, her mood became extremely bad. She had spent countless of energy to find the clues to the Lyra treasury, but she did not expect that it would benefit those two assholes. Bing, just at this time, a villager stumbled over, his face full of fear. Stone gravel beasts. The stone gravel beasts are here. Bang, bang, bang. Let me go. Ling Su stared angrily. You cold-blooded fellow. How can you watch them get killed by the stone gravel beasts? The black-clothed woman remained silent. Why wouldn't I? The old man asked. What an ingenious method, the old man praised lightly. Waves of air kept flashing with them as the center. Every time the Earth Affinity True Power and the Guardian Heart Sword clashed, there would be countless of ripples of energy. Killing intent surged in his heart as he quietly snuck over. Then why did you stop me? Ling Su's eyes widened. The stone gravel beasts were like a tide, causing people's scalps to go numb. Of course not, Tang Tian said with a face full of righteousness. As long as you alone, You can help them stabilize the situation. I'll wait for an opportunity from behind and drag out the bastard behind these stone gravel beasts." The woman in black said hatefully, "It's a pity that we met the honorable martial alliance. Our plan is ruined." A light aura flashed past the stone gravel beast king's brown eyes. Its metal fist was infused with earth affinity true power, striking towards Xie. Tang Tian said proudly, "What a godlike young man with fiery eyes. With that kind of brain of yours, you will never understand. Are you sick today?" Ling Su looked suspiciously at Tang Tian. "Or are you planning something bad again?" Guilin was scared silly. Until now, he still could not understand why the Siesord village people were so fearless. The lady in black trembled, her eyes widened, and said angrily, "You investigated me?" Suddenly Ding, a steel fist, blocked his sword. Xie Qing's eyes turned red and shouted, "All the men of the Xie family, bring up the rear. Xie Wan, bring the rest, and retreat to the back of the mountain." The stone gravel beast king's intelligence was high. Seeing that Xie Qing, who was defeated by it a few days ago, was actually on par with it, it was enraged, and its ferocious nature erupted. "Ha! To this godlike young man, a mount is simply a small problem." Tang Tian, in front of Ling Su's suspicious gaze, took out Flamingo and generously said, "I'll give it to you." "You'll give him time?" the lady in black asked. Bing suddenly appeared beside Tang Tian. "Why did you think of a mount?" "Yes," Ling Su said with certainty. She immediately explained, "After a few hundred years, the soil around the treasured sword will be changed by the power of the treasured sword, and the stone gravel beasts will not be able to get close." "Has the Xie village been breached?" the old man suddenly asked. His voice was hoarse and dry, extremely unpleasant to hear. The lady in black did not dare to say more. The old man in front of her had a fickle temperament and was a true demon who killed without blinking. And the other party had investigated her, which made her even more fearful. The light sound of the sword, even though it was so far away, could still be heard clearly. Tang Tian rolled his eyes and looked at Ling Su as though he was looking at an idiot. "Can't you see that there are people behind the group of stone gravel beasts?" To avoid the stone gravel beasts, Tang Tian came out from the back of the village, took a big detour, and headed towards the back of the stone gravel beasts. These people were the main culprits. The lady in black's face changed. A formless pressure suddenly caused her to be unable to breathe. She forced a smile. "Don't worry, blind elder. The Onyx Soul Horse's information is definitely not wrong." Xie Qing's heart was indescribably sorrowful, but he knew it was not the time to be sad. He pointed his sword at Guilin and said in a deep voice, "All of you attack together. If you guys can survive, I will spare your lives." The old man was skinny, his eyes were blind, and on his knees was an old Eru, a very powerful fellow. Bing's poker face was gloomy. "We will know once we touch them. They will definitely not be far away." But this question was quickly thrown to the back of his head, and he asked Bing suspiciously, "Uncle, you said the person commanding the stone gravel beasts. Who is it?" In the last battle, Tang Tian had noticed Ling Su's fighting style. Tang Tian's intuition was extremely sharp. He could feel that Ling Su's attack rhythm had some delay. Logically, with Ling Su's strength, such a delay would definitely not appear. After that, Tang Tian then realized the spear technique that Ling Su used that day was slightly different from usual. "Honorable martial alliances people," the old man said indifferently. "You want to eat alone? Don't blame others." He suddenly released two weird coo-coo sounds, causing the lady in black to jump in fright. Not long after, suddenly, a few figures entered his vision. CF family, Sword Village. All the men who could hold a sword, all had red eyes, roaring as they rushed towards the stone gravel beast wave. The old man suddenly let out a light sound. Pai Pa quivered and immediately replied, "The mud wall has already been broken. The stone gravel beasts have already entered the village." Waves after waves of energy formed a storm, sweeping across the battlefield. "I heard that the ancient spear techniques all have special mounts. Do you know that?" Tang Tian asked. He said to himself, The last time I met two outstanding young men, they actually did not appear this time, so weird. Why do you want to use the stone gravel beasts? The old man ignored her anger and asked, Relax, if we can really find that sword, that drop of blood will belong to you. The old man said indifferently, For your sister to have an elder sister like you, her life is good. Tang Tian stared angrily. Then I'll take it back. Guo Lin's face was pale. Both his legs were white, but Xie Qing's sword tip was pointed at his throat. That threatening, cold intent caused him to wake up. His face changed. He clenched his teeth. All right. They were all alarmed from their training state. The moment the sword and fist clashed, a formless ripple suddenly exploded out. The old man shook his head, but very straightforwardly replied, I don't know. Before everyone could react, they heard a loud bang. The unfinished mud wall, in a moment, broke into pieces. A few stone gravel beasts the size of small mountains, as though they were breaking dry weeds, rushed into the village. Inside the Pegasus silver carriage, Tang Tian pulled Ling Su, who was preparing to rush out. The two clashing figures attracted the attention of the entire battlefield. They were evenly matched. But the scales of the battlefield were quickly tilting towards the stone gravel beasts. The power of the Xie Sword Village's villagers was unable to stop the tide of stone gravel beasts. Now that he had the Pegasus silver carriage, Flamingo was idle in his hands, so he asked. The lady in black bit her lips and suddenly said, This is Guo Dong's territory. He seemed to be moved and also seemed to be sighing. How did you know? Ling Su was surprised and immediately said, Mounts are not as simple as you think, and that toy is very expensive. I can't afford to play with it. If Tang Tian saw the lady in black, he would definitely recognize her. This lady was the onyx soul horse that he and Jing Hao met. Tang Tian's spirit was roused. With that, he jumped down from the Pegasus silver carriage, and from the back of the village, he quietly slipped out. Finally, the Xie Sword village that had existed for 700 years, had it come to an end? After thinking about it carefully, Tang Tian realized Ling Su's attacking style was not consistent because he lacked a mount. The first thing Tang Tian thought of was the bronze mechanical ostrich that was modified into Flamingo. Ling Su laughed out loud, flipped up, and urged Flamingo like a gust of wind. He rushed out of the carriage. A robust figure shuttled back and forth among the stone gravel beasts. Every sword would cause a stone gravel beast to fall. Before he finished, a rumbling sound came from afar, causing the ground to tremble like a sieve. I hope your information is accurate, the old man said indifferently. Tang Tian was eager to try, bursting with confidence. Such a difficult task can only be handed over to a godlike young lad. Only then can it be completed. Everyone quieted down. Guo Lin's heart jumped. Could it be that the old ancestor had come? I heard you found the Lyra treasury. The old man suddenly asked. Tang Tian did not know what was good, but he did. All the stone gravel beasts that were as big as hills were swept by the wave, and all fell to the left and right. Xie Qing's sword was like the wind. The sound of the sword ringing was like a gentle tide, lingering in the ears. His empty eye sockets looked towards the direction of the Xie Sword village. The lady in black noticed the old man's strange look and immediately followed his gaze. She had just arrived, although the old man did not say it clearly, but she could tell the previous mission was not successful. Chapter 209. In the blink of an eye, Ling Su had already rushed to the mud wall. Pa! Flamingo soared into the sky. Ling Su's vision suddenly widened. The entire battlefield was in his eyes. An indescribable heroic spirit was like a raging flame burning every part of his body. He used all his strength to grip the silver spear in his hand. His left palm lightly caressed Flamingo's head. I swear to help anyone who asks me for help. I swear not to harm any women. Ling Su jumped up and down a few times, and the stone gravel beasts around the mud wall were all cleared. The young man asked curiously, could it be that Uncle already knew? The knights of the ancient times carried their spears like this, fearlessly under the sound of the horn, trampling on the enemies in front of them. The mechanical beast under him was of superior quality. It was definitely something he had never seen before. People only knew he had been blind since he was young, but his training talent was outstanding, and he was proficient in music. Until one time he accidentally heard a low and hoarse eru, and immediately fell in love with this instrument. Teacher, little Sue is still not as good as you, but little Sue will definitely follow in your footsteps and work hard to walk down. With Ling Su's help, the situation immediately stabilized. Ling Su was invincible, rushing back and forth a few times. The pressure on the villagers immediately decreased. He did not know why, but he pulled the strings of the eru. Everyone was stunned by the sudden appearance of Ling Su. And Xiaoyu was only 19 years old. Even those famous geniuses in the immortal martial news, Xiaoyu is not inferior. When the silver spear in Ling Su's hand pierced through the third stone gravel beast, the first stone gravel beast finally fell to the ground. His strings were filled with sorrow, causing people to be unable to extricate themselves. Uncle, what kind of treasured sword is it? Guiyu's eyes were filled with curiosity. Suddenly, his gaze congealed. A fiery red and silver-white figure, like a sharp spear, pierced into the group of stone gravel beasts. I don't know either. Guo Dong smiled, then regained his cool. But for the CF family to protect it for 700 years, it is definitely an extraordinary treasured sword. A warm aura arose from his heart. It was like his teacher's scent. Ling Su had always felt that his teacher had a unique scent, and now he finally knew what his teacher's scent was. Faith. Boom. Xie Qing, who was fighting with the stone gravel beast king, calmed down. The two masters had finally made their move. The combat power Ling Su displayed was even more astonishing than the last time. The scenery in his field of vision shook violently, but Ling Su remained unmoved. He had never married, and his only nephew was no different from his own son. All these years, he had endured the loneliness of the Sword Village, all for Xiaoyu. At this moment, Ling Su had an extremely bold idea. The unprecedented contentment caused the fighting intent in Ling Su's body to be completely ignited. With a thought, Flamingo, who was sprinting at high speed, turned around and charged towards the mud wall. Her long silver hair fluttered in the wind, and her orange-red eyes burned with a raging fire. What about Guolin and the others? Guoyu couldn't help but ask as he looked at Guolin, who was covered in wounds and struggling bitterly on the battlefield. The black cloak fluttered in the wind, and the dark red fire crow embroidered on the cloak looked as though it had come alive. Ling Su charged. Flamingo landed heavily on the ground. It was small and slender, but the sound of it landing was extremely terrifying. It was like a heavy drum beating on everyone's heart, causing them to tremble. I don't know. Guo Dong shook his head. He has his channels. But such a method, only he can do it. You have to be careful in the future. Sound-type martial artists have many methods, which are unimaginable. Guoyu noticed the change in Guo Dong's expression and followed Guo Dong's gaze and exclaimed, "Who is that?" After obtaining Flamingo, Ling Su realized that everything had become simple. He only needed to continuously pull out his spear, unleash his spear. It was extremely easy. Such a high-speed piercing spear, to normal martial artists, might be a difficult task, but to Ling Su, it was not difficult at all. Sorrowful Blind Cord, ranked 9900 on the Heaven Road list. The village will take good care of his family, Guodong said coldly. A hint of killing intent surfaced in Guodong's eyes. The stubble on his chin moved, and his voice became stern and cold. He is called Sorrowful Blind Cord. The wind blew on his face, whistling beside his ears. His chest was filled with lofty sentiments. That kind and gentle back view appeared in Ling Su's heart. That warm and kind gaze was like shining on his back. Oh, Guoyu was a little disappointed, but he immediately thought of another question. Uncle, who is it? So powerful, he can actually control the stone gravel beasts. If he wants to attack our village, we can't stop him. Guodong looked at the chaotic battlefield from afar. His expression was indifferent. His thin chin was covered with hard stubble, causing people to think of the sharp antlers on the battlefield, brimming with aggressiveness. charging to his heart's content and delight, caused the fighting intent in Ling Su's body to soar to the extreme. He only felt that his entire body was enveloped in flames, completely fearless. I swear to help my brothers. I swear to treat my friends with sincerity. I swear to love till death. In the sky, Ling Su, as though he was stepping on flames, his silver hair scattered, the spear in his hands disdainfully, extremely tyrannical. The stone gravel beasts in front of him appeared at an alarming rate. Ling Su's attention was highly concentrated. The spear in his hands always only had one movement: pierce. Beside him, a young man stood solemnly. The young man was dressed like Guodong. His face was sickly pale, his eyes were black and bright, his hands were thin and long. There were a few moves in the pointed sea spear, all of which required a mount. But ever since he learned it, Ling Su almost never had the chance to use it. He roamed everywhere, full and hungry, eating in the wind and sleeping in the dew. Where would he find the money to buy a mount? Wild and simple, two completely different styles mixed together, but it was so dangerous and deadly. Don't worry. Guodong's cold face exposed a smile. Very few people know of his weakness, but Uncle is coincidentally one of them. Then Gui was a little unconfident. You're called Flamingo? That's not a bad name. Then let's charge together. It was not the least bit bloated. Instead, it was exquisite like a work of art, but its strength was abnormally strong. When it ran, it was like a gust of wildfire wind. Break through their entire line of defense. The fiery red and silver interweaved into a magnificent light. It was so beautiful that it made people suffocate, but it was also so dangerous that it made people suffocate. His pointed sea spear had a long history and still retained many of the characteristics of the ancient spear techniques. But because of the high speed and strong impact, the same spear, the power would explosively increase by a few times. Flamingo's slender bird legs bent, the sharp bird claws digging deep into the soil. The Xie family's villagers only felt a gust of fiery red wind brushing past them, and the stone gravel beast in front of them suddenly fell to the ground. His temperament was unreasonable and cold, and he killed people like flies. His most famous incident was the once sensational, sorrowful Blood Night. That year, he passed by a city. Coincidentally, the place was holding a martial arts competition where experts gathered. The light brushed past the mud wall like a pen, full of red and silver interweaved glowing paint, smearing along the mud wall. The fiery red and silver interweaved light once again lit up. No one knew his name. Everyone called him Blind Court Old Man. There was very little news about him, and the time he fought his way into the Heaven's Road list was earlier than Guodong. But Xiaoyu did not let him down. Under Guodong's meticulous training, Xiaoyu's strength was already very close to his. This stone sword peak. All these years I have come here countless of times, but I still have not found the treasure sword. Guodong once again looked at the intense battlefield side. The Xie family also does not seem to know the location of the treasure sword, so I am very curious. This time, what method will this group of people use to find the treasure sword? Feeling the surging power of Flamingo, Ling Su's heart was extremely excited. Spear techniques came from the battlefield, and the ancient spear techniques were mostly used on the battlefield and not in individual martial arts competitions. Flamingo immediately transformed into a blazing and violent fiery shadow, swiftly rushing forward. His gaze looked towards the endless stone gravel beasts, his orange pupils surging with fighting intent. Everywhere he passed, the stone gravel beasts fell like wheat being cut down. Ling Su suddenly crouched down. Flamingo seemed to feel his will, suddenly increasing its speed, sweeping past a reckless and wild fiery red. He rarely appeared in front of people, and his battle record was rarely known. But his ranking had never dropped from the Heaven's Road list. His strength could be seen. A thick sadness enveloped the entire city. That night, 109 people committed suicide, including close to 20 martial artists whose strength exceeded the 6th level. His light sigh floated in the wind. Without any fancy without any unnecessary movements. It was a stab, on a high ground. Suddenly, the words from his teacher's old book flowed in his heart. In the wind, he could not help but to read it out loud. I swear to treat the weak with kindness. I swear to bravely fight against rape. I swear to fight against all wrongdoings. I swear to fight for the defenseless. Flamingo similarly lowered its body. The claws that were deeply embedded in the soil suddenly exerted force. They come with ill intentions. Guodong's voice was like the fire crow on his cloak, cold and demonic. I never thought the secret of Stone Sword Peak would finally be found out. In front of him was flying soil, but Ling Su was not affected at all. He lowered his body, his silver spear leveled, his voice like thunder. Kill. Those assholes hiding behind the scenes must be hiding behind the stone gravel beasts. If he could penetrate through the enemy's defense, then he could definitely force the enemy out. Flamingo, charge. Sad. Blind cord. Guoyu opened his eyes wide, stuttering. His sickly pale face exposed a look of shock. Blind cord, old man. Why is he here? I also accidentally found out. Guodong looked at the young man. His gaze was gentle and warm. This was his nephew, and the only reason why he stayed in the Sword Village all these years. Ling Su lowered his body, the silver spear in his hand horizontally behind his back, the fiery red tassel hanging down like a floating red flame. With a flick of his wrist, using the forward momentum, the spear tip effortlessly pierced into a stone gravel beast body. Flamingo did not stop. Like a gust of blazing fire, swept past the stone gravel beast. Chapter 210. A martial artist on the Heaven's Road list. Just thinking about it made Tang Tian excited. To be able to exchange blows with such a strong martial artist, he would know his own strength, and he would know how far his own strength had reached. Guodong's sword actually enveloped everyone. Ling Su was like a red and silver interweaving blade, slicing through tofu. Wherever the silver light shone, the frozen true power would quickly flow again. Tang Tian's fighting intent was boiling. His eyes were bloodshot, and he suddenly rushed out. But Ling Su was not the least bit afraid. Instead, he felt his blood vessels expanding, and his fighting intent was blazing to the point of burning. And now that he had a weapon like Sky Tiger, his fighting intent was even more intense. Are you a coward? Tang Tian's gaze landed on the pale-faced young man. It seemed the sickly young man was a good target to break through. The entire battlefield was disrupted by Ling Su's actions. The stone gravel beast king roared and was about to pounce on Ling Su, but Xie immediately understood Ling Su's intention. The sword in his hand suddenly resonated, the sword aura exploding, tightly coiling around the stone gravel beast king. And is the spear in your hand trembling? But Tang Tian felt an extremely strange chi, completely ignoring his true power, drilling straight into his arm. And in a moment, his right arm was almost frozen. Thinking about the upcoming battle, Bing's heart was filled with anticipation. The previous battle with King Kong made him feel that it was not enough. He was born in the army, and his passion for battle was something that ordinary martial artists could not imagine. Is the willpower in your heart still so strong? The moment Tang Tian rushed over, Guodong suddenly felt it. Are you afraid? On the 10m high cliff, the old man in the wheelchair, with his empty eye sockets, revealed a playful smile. He did not refute Tang Tian's battle plan, because it seemed to be very reliable. With Tang Tian's current strength, to be a Terminator was rather difficult. But this rascal's indomitable intuition made him the best candidate to fight. The problem now was, how long would it take for the two of them to work together to kill the sickly young man? The oncoming wind suddenly became oppressive and suffocating. The whistling in his ears rumbled like thunder, and he couldn't hear anything. He was like a seasoned hunter, staring at the prey in front of him, his mind quickly calculating, looking for an opportunity to strike. His vision was so blurry due to the intense shaking caused by the high-speed running. But a carefree smile suddenly appeared on Ling Su's face. His smile was like the sun, like a raging fire. The youth was wild and heroic, The youth was as firm as iron. This was the first expert he had met on the list. The flamingo that was madly sprinting with all its might was like a wild, flaming wind in full bloom, while Ling Su on its body was like a cold and sharp blade on a flame. But, Ling Su, are you afraid? Countless dark red frost quickly spread with an indescribable chill. It spread in all directions at an alarming speed. Tang Tian let out a furious roar as he flipped his right palm. His 5 fingers were like hooks, bringing with them a dazzling spark as they went straight for the fire crow sword ray. 5 minutes. Bing thought for a while and said. Tang Tian heaved a sigh of relief. From the corner of his eyes, he suddenly saw 2 figures that were like the wind. Bing and Ghost Claw. Suddenly, Ling Su's violently shaking vision revealed a few figures. His pupils constricted. What is this to feed him? Pooh! Rationality? What is that? Fire Crow Winter. Found you. But his heart was filled with a surging battle intent. Is your dream still shining brightly? Guodong's face changed. He did not think that someone would actually find him so close. Although he was attracted by the tyrannical charging of the flamingo rider and did not notice, but the strength of the ambusher was definitely not weak. Come, let me see how strong you are. He could see that the opponent was much stronger than him, or even much stronger. Guodong could not help but frown. The opponent was more troublesome than he thought. But to be able to fight his way into the Heaven Road list, he relied on more than just this cold fire crow sword. The opponent's chi was like an unfathomable cold pond, deep and cold. Ling Su actually had a feeling that he did not know where to start. After so many years of wandering and struggling, Ling Su's eyesight was extremely sharp, and he was extremely experienced. Who he could provoke, who he could not provoke, he was very clear. He had a bad temper, but he would definitely not provoke opponents that he could not provoke. That was the reason why he was able to live till now. Guodong's eyes constricted. Tang Tian, who was opposite him, pounced towards him again. Ling Su's actions surprised everyone. Uncle, you and Ghost Claw, how long do you think it will take to get rid of that little one? Tang Tian asked. That spear was called Justice Origin Core Pierce. He was about to make his move, but suddenly from the corner of his eyes, he saw 2 figures appearing beside Guayu, and his face changed. But the current Tang Tian was like a raging volcano, spewing out battle intent, boiling blood. Even his bones were burning red steel. As if feeling Ling Su's will, Flamingo suddenly screeched, like a sharp blade piercing through the clouds. It was so decisive that it caused people's hearts to tremble. The surrounding stone gravel beasts were swept by the shockwave. As if they were hit by a heavy hammer, they fell to the ground and quickly became a pile of sand. Weird. Flamingo, will you always be brave and fearless? In a moment, Tang Tian's entire body was covered with a dark red frost. His body was frozen stiff. What made him even more shocked was he realized that the true power in his body was actually frozen too. Heaven Road List, 9,928 rank. Flamingo, are you also yearning to charge forward? Ling Su's roar reverberated in the wind. The sound of the collision was so light, it was like blowing out a candle. Although Guodong was shocked, he did not panic. Unknowingly, a dark red sword appeared in his hand. The opponent's target was Xiaoyu. Flamingo, go! Guodong did not even look and swung his sword behind him. The dark red sword arc released by the cold fire crow sword was like a fire crow spreading its wings, quietly flying towards Tang Tian. The red-silver flowing light was as straight as a blade. Fire Crow Executioner, Guodong, Heaven Road, List 9928 rank. Tang Tian's arrogant face broke into a smile, revealing 2 rows of white teeth. Guodong's mouth curled into a sneer. The cold fire that the cold fire crow sword brought was an extremely cold and evil flame. People without experience would fall for it the first time. Who? A dark red flame appeared on the sword body. And these rascals actually dared to have ideas on Xiaoyu. No wonder he was ranked 9928 on the Heaven Road list. A sword technique, it was indeed powerful. Just as Tang Tian was in shock, the silver martial spirit flame in his body suddenly jumped intensely, releasing a silver-white light. Wherever the dark red frost passed, everything was frozen. 5 minutes, Guodong let out a long whistle. The cold fire crow sword in his hand exploded in flames. The terrifying pressure was like an invisible big hand, instantly enveloping the entire field. The dark red fire crow sword aura spewed out from the sword body, rushing into the sky. Logic told him the current him could not defeat his opponent. That's right, you're not his opponent. A loud explosion instantly resonated through the entire field. The wave of chi was much stronger than before, like a hurricane sweeping across. The blind old man in front of him was definitely someone he could not provoke. If it was in the past, he would definitely turn around and leave. Tang Tian's gaze was fixated on the middle-aged man in the black cloak. The fire crow on the cloak indicated his identity. Guodong was slightly surprised the opponent's claw technique was actually able to create sparks in the air, which surprised him. But the powerful force that erupted from his fingertips made him even more surprised. This rascal was actually not affected by the cold fire. Heaven and earth lost their color. Only the orange eyes were clear. I must defeat him. Those huge stone gravel beasts in front of them were as weak as paper. As if there was a voice shouting in his heart. This caused every cell in Tang Tian's body to tremble with excitement. Once the cold fire entered the meridians, the cold fire would spread like a poison. The silver hair danced wildly. The spear was like a dragon, whistling through the air. The roaring airflow in his ears was like thunder, isolating everything outside, but also made the voice in his heart even clearer. Old Crow, now it's the godlike young man's turn to make his move. Flamingo borrowed the momentum. Its skinny and tough bird claws opened its 5 fingers, fiercely digging into the soil. The fiery red figure suddenly rose up like a reckless, angry flame, bringing the silver-haired young man, brazenly pouncing towards the old man on the wheelchair on the cliff. Tang Tian's heart was overwhelmed. It was his first time encountering such a weird chi. Tang Tian not only did not have the slightest bit of fear, but instead became even more excited. To be able to battle with such a strong martial artist, it was such a delightful and exciting thing. But the taste of the cold fire was also not that good. Tang Tian did not pay attention to the battlefield. His attention was all on the 2 people in front of him. He could hear Ling Su's roar, but his state of mind was not distracted at all. In a moment, he saw through Tang Tian's intention. The dark red fire crow sword aura dropped down from the sky and exploded. His spirit was roused, his fighting spirit soaring. Tang Tian in battle was the most terrifying. True power freeze. Flamingo, are you thirsting for battle too? Guodong immediately flew into a rage. Guoyu was not only his nephew, he was also his successor. All his hopes were placed on Guoyu. One of Corvus' constellation's silver weapons, cold fire crow sword. The silver light that filled the sky transformed into a dazzling light spot, suddenly rushing forward. Tang Tian knew that his own strength could not compare to the fierce-looking fellow. However long Bing and Ghost Claw needed to spend to get rid of the sickly young man, he needed to hold him back. With Sky Tiger's Uncle Bing, it was like adding wings to a tiger. His strength had increased a step. Adding Ghost Claw, getting rid of the sickly young man should not be a problem. The 2 enemies were definitely not weak, but with Bing and Ghost Claw as helpers, it was a pity Magic Flute was not around. If not, their chances of winning would be higher. But Tang Tian did not care too much about it. Guodong, who was known as the Fire Crow Executioner, had killed countless people and had rich battle experience. At that time, his heart trembled, and he knew the danger. Flamingo's eyes lit up with a ray of light. Its speed that was originally like the wind suddenly increased again. Ling Su, who was on the back of a bird, only felt that the scenery in front of him was flying past, becoming a blurry line. Chapter 211. Guodong relaxed. His gaze landed on Xiao Yu, filled with anticipation. Is this the feeling of sorrow? Almost at the same time, tins of fire lines spewed out, forming a circular fire net around Guodong. The martial technique used by the spirit general was exactly the same as the one that attacked him. Guo did not panic. The sword in his hand trembled. A dark red fire crow suddenly flew out from his sword rein, colliding into Ghost Claw's claw shadows. Sorrow's blind cord. No. After a while, his teacher struggled to get up from the pool of blood. He clutched his chest, fresh blood continuously flowing out from his fingertips. He took out a pill and swallowed it. No! Ling Su's eyes were about to pop out. It was the same type of martial technique, but when used by two people, the power was completely different. This was enough to prove that two's understanding of martial techniques were not on the same level. Guodong stared coldly at Tang Tian. Although the young man in front of him had astonishing speed, but he lacked a strong offensive method and could not unleash the power of his speed. But Guodong quickly calmed down. The cold fire crow sword in his hand continuously waved out. A dark red ring of fire suddenly spewed out from his feet and quickly spread to the surroundings. Ghost Claw's eyes suddenly burst out a ball of light aura. Both his claws brought out sparks, from red to glaring silver. Two blazing rays of light from his two sides quickly converged in front of him. With Ghost Claw's claw strength, this attack actually did not gain any advantage. Xie tried his best not to be affected by the melody. His mind was still clear, but his face was cold. Unknowingly, his tears were flowing. Many of the sorrows in his memories were like dusty old things, slowly opening up in front of him. A deep and powerful chord sound suddenly sounded out. The moment the two rays of silver light converged, the transparent sword screen rushed to Ghost Claw, coincidentally clashing with Ghost Claw's claws. But it was not that Tang Tian did not have anything to rely on other than his astonishing intuition. His speed was extremely fast. After absorbing the angel blood and dwarf blood, his speed had leaped to the top in a night. And after he broke through to the 6th level, all aspects of his body had a comprehensive increase. The transparent sword in his hand lit up with a dark red flowing flame. That pill was exactly the same as the life-saving pill his teacher had swallowed in the pool of blood. The bowstring moved like flowing water. Guodong felt that he was surrounded by the figure of the other party. Ding, ding, ding. This is Heaven Road List rank 9,900 strong martial artist. A sound-type martial artist whose strength was even stronger than Guodong. Amidst his admiration, Guodong was relieved. Although the spirit general was powerful, it would not be easy to defeat Xiaoyu with just one spirit general. Teacher's face, disappointment in his eyes, endless darkness, forever reminding him of his pain, his self-exile. Tang Tian did not let his blood get to his head, no matter how fierce his fighting spirit was. Guodong's pupils suddenly dilated. Tang Tian's figure quickly circled around Guodong. But no matter how he waved his claws, this seemingly simple and crude fire net did not move. Ling Su watched in a daze. Even if it was an illusion, he was willing to see this side of his teacher. Guodong immediately looked at Guoyu. A transparent sword screen spewed out from the front of the sword tip and went straight for the Ghost Claw. Teacher could not believe his eyes as he fell into the pool of blood. A tall and sturdy figure, shrouded in the shadows, a voice full of regret sounded out. Is this the pointed sea spear? Such a pity. I thought it was so strong, but it was unable to satisfy me. But you don't have to worry. I will not disgrace it, because it is not worthy of me. The blind cord of sorrow. Suddenly, Ling Su was shocked to see a spear tip suddenly emerged from his teacher's chest. Ling Su's spear was actually so slow. Wherever the sword screen passed, the soil flew, a deep and straight ditch, with the same speed, pushed forward. What a fierce and violent claw technique. Ling Su's vision blurred. He knew this was the opponent's method. He still tried his best to stab forward, but he could not control the sorrow, and it flooded every corner of his heart. The peacock armor made Tang Tian's movements become more agile, and completely made up for Tang Tian's lack of light body techniques. The feathers of the peacock armor, constantly changing, Tang Tian felt like he was a fish. No matter which direction he went, he was agile and free. This spirit general was definitely not a nobody. Guiyu's expression was solemn, and he bellowed, "Zero cut." But that figure did not hear his voice and directly turned and left. Who? Xiao Yu's bright black eyes opened wide. In his slender right hand, there was a thin, long sword. This sword was as thin as a cicada's wing, close to transparent. Buzz! The long sword in front of his face suddenly slashed down. Endless sorrow instantly welled up in his heart. His speed had reached an extremely astonishing level. Tang Tian displayed his speed to the fullest. The increase in speed, other than allowing him to take the initiative, more importantly, the rhythm of the battle became faster. The faster the rhythm of the battle, the less time people had to think. Like this, his advantage in the aspect of intuition could be displayed to the fullest. Ghost Claw's eyes widened. The 10 skinny fingers suddenly brought about countless dazzling sparks and claw shadows, the mournful screams lingering in the ears. Teacher's figure was so clear that it was dangerous to touch. Ling Su muttered to himself, tears flowing down uncontrollably. Between the sword tip and the ghost claw, suddenly a blazing light aura burst out, the strength overflowing. The two swords just now made Tang Tian understand the opponent's strength was relatively strong. Just by relying on his fire scythe, Ghost Claw, which had not been trained to the Grandmaster level, it was impossible to injure Guodong. Guiyu's body emitted a faint undulation. The air was like it was being roasted, causing Guiyu's figure to look somewhat blurry. The fiery red long sword was raised vertically in front of his eyes, his expression solemn. He bellowed, "Zero cut." The spear tip lit up with a dazzling silver aura, the only star in the night sky. Miraculously, the blood stopped flowing, but Teacher had aged overnight. Guodong was moved, Grandmaster-level martial technique. The flames dissipated, a dark red fire crow appeared behind Guiyu. The fire crow's body was dark red, spreading its wings. Its black pupils were like two bottomless black holes. The moment the melody sounded, Ling Su's heart was suddenly gripped by an invisible hand. Ling Su felt as though he was struck by lightning. Bang! Zero cut. Not a bad name. Blind Cord Old Man did not feel anything and continued to pull the arrow's bow. A low and sorrowful sound flowed out from his fingers. Time seemed to freeze. Ling Su's tyrannical spear actually slowed down bit by bit. His own life was exchanged for his teacher's life. His teacher's familiar aging and coughing day after day made Ling Su finally understand why his teacher was always so sickly. Tang Tian's fire scythe Ghost Claw brought out a bright spark. He pushed his speed to the maximum. In the blink of an eye, Guodong was surrounded by silver afterimages and bright sparks. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had clashed more than 10 times. Countless astonishing strength chi exploded from the two of them. Too scary. When he saw Sky Tiger, he heaved a sigh of relief. The standard of mechanical martial artists were not high. But the skinny spirit general attracted Guodong's attention. The moment Blind Cord Old Man pulled the arrow's bow, the entire battlefield quietened down. Regardless of whether it was the stone gravel beasts or the villagers, they all stopped. It was not that he had never seen martial artists with good light body techniques, but he was still shocked by Tang Tian's speed. His tears were like a broken dam pouring down in torrents. It was a vast expanse of whiteness. The sorrowful melody enveloped the battlefield. The dazzling light aura suddenly lit up, engulfing Ghost Claw and Guiyu's body. In his hand, there was a pill. He chewed it, mixed it with the wine, and fed it to the baby. The dark red flowing flame suddenly burst out from the sword body, in a moment engulfing Guiyu's body. You guys are underestimating Xiaoyu. Tang Tian spun around Guodong, the fire scythe Ghost Claw coming from all directions, clawing at Guodong. Every time the fire crow and fire scythe Ghost Claw clashed, the two of them would tremble. The lady in black was overwhelmed with shock. Her body was completely immobilized. Not even a finger could move. She felt her body being controlled. Her tears uncontrollably flowed down. The stone gravel beast stood there in a daze, and all the villagers had tears streaming down their faces, filled with sorrow. Guodong's eyes suddenly lit up. He already knew that Xiaoyu had a killing technique, but he had never seen Xiaoyu use it before. When he asked about Xiaoyu, he would always open his eyes wide, with a face of innocence. The flames beneath his feet suddenly spouted out a line of fire. The line of fire circled around Guodong's body, and once again drilled into the flames beneath his feet. With a twist of his wrist, the long sword pierced out without any smoke or fire chi. No, this is not real. This is not real. But in the snow forest, the teacher suddenly stopped seeing an infant. The infant's entire body was injured. His little face was already frozen. The teacher carried the infant, touched him for a while, and suddenly laughed. "Little rascal, you must live well. This is the last pill. Don't let me lose a few years of my life for nothing." Guodong was secretly surprised. Such a fast speed. Xie looked at the figure on the wheelchair in shock. He finally recognized who the old man was. Bang, bang, bang. He was the blind cord old man who was known as the sorrowful blind cord. This spear was as though it pierced through the sticky air. "No, you asshole. You scum." Ling Su's face was covered in tears, roaring at the top of his lungs. Ding! She was really looking forward to it. It was like a nightmare. This feeling caused her heart to be filled with fear. Her expression was blank. Guayu's sickly pale face surfaced a tinge of red. His black eyes, however, was filled with killing intent. The opponent's tenacity far exceeded his imagination. "Teacher, Xiaosu misses you." The concentrated sounds of impact continuously hitting the fire net, countless sparks flying. It was a beautiful sight. Guodong's eyes lit up. Such a ferocious claw technique, it was really rare. Blind cord old man's face revealed a deep sorrow. His empty eye sockets, 2 streaks of tears rolled down. The lady in black's mind was blank. Ling Su's ferocious charge was like a ray of lightning, directly piercing in front of her. She did not even have the time to think of resisting. Chapter 2:12. Guayu's gaze suddenly turned cold, the sword in his hand once again raised. Who exactly is it? Entering the Heaven Road list, becoming one of the top 10,000 martial artists in the entire Heaven's Road, allowing his name to appear in front of billions of people. Glory, money, treasures, martial techniques, everything would be within his reach. This was the dream of countless martial artists. Guayu's eyes suddenly lit up. Ghost Claw's figure in front of him was gradually fading. In mid-air, fresh blood splattered. Ling Su's eyes were tightly shut, unconscious. This battle was more daunting than dangerous. To Xiaoyu, it was a good training. The remaining mechanical martial artist was completely unable to pose a threat to Xiaoyu. From 9901 to 10,000, this 100 was known as the 100 battle zone. Poker Uncle. When Magic Flute returned to the recruit barracks, he could not help but exclaim, there was actually not a single person here. The melodious sound of the flute made the lady in black indescribably comfortable. The killing intent in her heart dissipated. She actually could not muster up a bit of fighting intent. Even though he was far away, Magic Flute could still see. Ling Su, who was thrusting his spear towards Blind Man, as though he was hit by a heavy hammer. He spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backwards. The fire scythe Ghost Claw on his fingertips quietly changed. Guodong, who had been watching the battle from the fire net, finally heaved a sigh of relief. This spirit general's strength was indeed very strong. But Xiaoyu's sword was even stronger. Magic Flute thought in a daze, a faint sorrow and sigh rising in his eyes. Especially when Magic Flute appeared when Guiyu and Ghost Claw were at the peak of their battle. The moment the flute sounded, he stole everyone's limelight. In the sky full of silver light, the slender figure quietly stood there. The fire net in front of him, in Tang Tian's eyes, became more and more hateful. His speed became even faster, the fire scythe Ghost Claw in his hands, no longer holding back. Blind cord old man on the wheelchair exclaimed. The bowstring in his hand stopped. his empty eye sockets looking towards the direction of the flute sound. Tang Tian's eyes were red, and he roared in his heart. Tang Tian, how can you be so weak? Guodong's face revealed a gratified look. In the sky, full of silver light, he slightly lowered his head, the copper flute in his hands, placed it to his lips. Why was his fire scythe, Ghost Claw, so weak? What a powerful claw technique. The flamingo used its beak to grab the unconscious Ling, Su, and ran with all its might. What a sad voice. His life must have been very unfortunate. Tang Tian knew that the fire scythe Ghost Claw was the pride of Ghost Claw and was entrusted to him. There was nothing that could make fire scythe Ghost Claw feel worse than being defeated in a one-on-one fight. Even if Ghost Claw's power had not fully recovered, Ghost Claw's level had not recovered. Roar, fire scythe Ghost Claw. At this moment, he was burning with rage, and all his apprehensions were gone. Guodong looked at Guiyu through the fire net, feeling extremely gratified. He had spent so much time and energy to finally groom Xiaoyu. Suddenly, Guodong sensed something and exclaimed in surprise. Wishful thinking. The stone gravel beast seemed to have awoken and started to attack the flamingo. Just based on the rankings, Blind Cord Old Man's power was definitely stronger than Guodong. He had to get rid of the sound-type martial artist first. The most taboo thing for a sound-type martial artist was to let the enemy get close to them. This sound-type martial artist was stupid and actually ran so close to them. It was too stupid. But the sound-type martial artist needed to be taken care of. But Guiyu was still immersed in the victory of killing the opponent's powerful spirit general. Then what do we do? Silei said bitterly. Uncle Poker Face is not here. Magic Flute's gaze was deep, and he sighed like the wind. Guiyu's mouth curled into a smile. The mechanical martial artist protecting the sound-type martial artist. This strategy was rather correct. But a mechanical martial artist, how could he stop him? Me? Magic Flute pointed at his own face, stunned. After a while, he laughed. I'm sorry, I never knew how to control a mechanical weapon. As for the helpless Tang Tian who was circling the fire net, Guodong did not care at all. From time to time, sparks would fly, but in Guodong's eyes, it was just for show. In the next second, his pupils suddenly dilated. Finished, he slowly walked forward. On the long waiting list, everyone had the potential to fight their way into the Heaven Road list. Their eyes were red, thinking of all sorts of ways, continuously trying to challenge the experts on the Heaven Road list, hoping to be promoted. She knew how powerful they were, and her heart was overwhelmed with shock. But the Black Robe Lady did not expect to actually force his way in, a sound-type martial artist whose strength was not inferior to Blind Cord Old Man. The sorrow on Blind Cord Old Man's face deepened. The bowstring in his hand suddenly sank, and within the sorrow, there was a hint of killing intent. Such a powerful, sound-type martial artist. Suddenly, a blue figure rushed in front of Magic Flute. It was the mechanical martial artist. Suave and elegant figure, made Silei's eyes light up with countless stars. Silei's face was full of infatuation, both hands clasped in front of his chest. Wow, Uncle is so handsome. His figure became faster and faster, the true power at his fingertips increasing. This kind of martial technique that looked good but was useless did not have any value. Flamingo nimbly jumped, bang, the rock fist smashed into the position it was just standing at, mud flying everywhere. He did not expect to meet such a powerful person the first time using it. These days, the standard of the mechanical martial artists were not high. At this moment, Ghost Claw's heart was dead. Although Guodong's ranking in the 100 battle zone had changed, but he had never dropped out of the Heaven's Road list, his strength could be imagined. In the entire Heaven's Road list, there was not a single mechanical martial artist. It could be seen how far the mechanical martial artists had fallen. He tilted his head, his clear eyes looking at the little black dot in the distance. His gaze landed on the blind man in the wheelchair. Something happened. When Magic Flute appeared by Tang Tian's side, his first reaction was not because of the explosion of silver light from Ghost Claw and Guiyu, nor was it because of the fire web that Tang Tian was unable to break, but because of the mournful sound of the Eru. Ghost Claw's figure faded. His eyes coldly looked at Guayu, not saying a word. In the blink of an eye, Flamingo was surrounded by danger. And Blind Cord Old Man, who was pinned at 9,900, was even more thought-provoking. This ranking meant that immortal Marshall believed that his strength was enough to leave the 100 battle zone. Magic Flute's face revealed a smile. He warmly said, "Please do not worry. I will go in exchange for him. He has already returned to the encampment." The moment Ghost Claw disappeared, Tang Tion's heart suddenly surged with anger. Anger towards himself. The smile on Magic Flute's face disappeared. He walked towards the light door. The lady in black, who was shocked, suddenly saw Blind Cord Old Man from the corner of her eyes. She could not help but be stunned. Guayu's pale face became even redder. He tightly pursed his lips, his bright black eyes staring straight at Ghost Claw, his hand holding the sword, trembling slightly. Magic Flute appeared out of nowhere, causing everyone to be shocked. More true power. Fire Scythe, Ghost Claw. Roar, Fire Scythe, Ghost Claw. Magic Flute admired for a while and commented, "Very beautiful." This also led to the fact that in any era, strong sound-type martial artists were extremely rare. As for the sound-type Spirit General, that's great. Sai Lei excitedly jumped up, her ponytail drawing a beautiful arc in the air. "Uncle Flute is the best." Blind Cord Old Man sat there without moving, quietly listening. The stone gravel beasts that were as dumb as wooden chickens suddenly had a terrifying red light in their eyes. They roared continuously, and one of the stone gravel beasts fiercely punched towards Flamingo. He was full of confidence in the zero form. Keeping them alive was just giving Xiaoyu a chance to fight. This was a very unique ranking. Suddenly, a clear and melodious flute sound leisurely floated over. The sound of the flute was like a gust of warm wind blowing across the entire battlefield. The sword aura cut through the air, bringing along a sharp whistle, slashing towards Magic Flute. The silver light in the sky dissipated. Ghost Claw at this moment must be very disappointed. "Move your claws faster." "Very beautiful." Sai Lei's eyebrows immediately frowned. She did not like this kind of evaluation. She mumbled, "Not beautiful, but powerful. Uncle Magic Flute, help me try." Damn it. When Ghost Claw's figure completely disappeared, Guiyu could not help but reveal a victorious smile. The remaining mechanical martial artist was completely nothing to worry about. And Blind Cord Old Man's display of strength was completely worthy of his ranking. Her brain was moving quickly. She was thinking which sound-type martial artist could contend against Blind Cord Old Man. A figure panting, with his red eyes, stared fiercely at her. Sound-type martial artists were a relatively unorthodox type of martial artist, because sound-type martial artists, other than needing to have training talent, they also needed to be proficient in music and have some understanding of music. Xiaoyu's future will be brighter than hers. Guodong's stubbled face was cold. He had enough confidence to kill him, as long as he wanted to attack. As an Onyx Soul Horse, her understanding of the Heaven Road list was much deeper than the average martial artist. If one had a little research on the Heaven Road list, they would realize Blind Cord Old Man's ranking for the past 10 years did not change at all. 9,900. All the stone gravel beasts stopped moving. The red light in their eyes started to dim. They were both young people, but Xiaoyu's strength was obviously much higher than Tang Tian. To Guodong, Xiaoyu already had the qualifications to compete in the Heaven Road List 100 battle zone. Blind Cord Old Man string music was like a nightmare, but this string of flute music seemed to have a magical power. It was able to touch people's hearts. The competition in the 100 battle zone was intense. It was the Heaven Road List strongest battle zone. It was also the fastest and most intense battle zone. Flamingo took the opportunity to rush out a large distance. Magic Flute smiled. He stood up, his tall figure and warm smile. It was unspeakable elegance. He nodded to Sai Lei, smiled. "I'm leaving. Please be careful." The surrounding fire net suddenly collapsed, became a sky full of sparks. His entire arm was numb, the blood in his chest churning. His zero slash. Ever since the day he comprehended it, he had never used in battle. Zero Slash, from today onwards, must be famous throughout the world. The transparent sword in his hand vibrated, buzzing lightly. The sword slashed towards Magic Flute, who was concentrating on playing. Ling Su, who was flying backwards, looked like he was about to fall into the group of stone gravel beasts. Suddenly, a red figure rushed out. It was Flamingo. Previously, because he had used the fire scythe Ghost Claw too much, his entire body was injured. It made Tang Tian hold back. The crane-bodied true power in his body was surging like never before. But the collision between the two killing techniques did not change because of his flute music. It's finally done. Silei looked at the new mechanical weapon in front of him, his face revealing a satisfied look. Tang Tian, who felt the same, was extremely angry. His attention was unprecedentedly focused. All his attention was on the fire net in front of him and the finger-type fire scythe Ghost Claw. Chapter 2:13. This luxurious equipment, it was impossible for Guodong not to be jealous. Without thinking, he roared. The transparent sword in his hand was enveloped in dark red flames and swung out. Not good. After image. Who? Guodong stared in disbelief at Tang Tian's 10 fingers that were emitting sparks. But once he lost hope, the incomplete martial spirit would face extinction and completely disappear. Tang Tian gasped for breath. The true power in his body was boiling hot. With red eyes, he was like an angry bull staring at Guodong. He looked straight at Guodong, straightened his back, and started to wear the bleeding cat blade scythe in an orderly manner. Usually, when Tang Tian trained, he was barehanded and did not wear any claw equipment. Such a scary brat. But Guiyu was overjoyed. Once this thought came out, he could not stop it from occupying his mind. No matter what, Guodong was overwhelmed with shock. He had never seen such a freak to be able to improve so quickly in a battle. After wearing the bleeding cat blade scythe, the power of the fire scythe gloves increased exponentially. The bleeding cat blade scythe was indeed a silver weapon of Link's constellation. It had the effect of a blood scythe. Every claw would definitely have a blood scythe. Ghost Claw, you must see it. Ghost Claw, you must not lose hope. Tang Tian also raised his head, raising his face. Tang Tian gasped for breath, opened his eyes wide, and stared fiercely at Guodong. His hands were naturally hanging by his side. His 10 fingers were like 10 fireworks, constantly emitting dazzling sparks. This brat actually broke through the fire net. Fire Scythe Ghost Claw. This was his own Fire Scythe Ghost Claw. Everyone could not help but raise their heads, looking at the terrifying black light descending from the sky. The sparkling gloves with sparks. It was breathtakingly beautiful. Tang Tian only had this thought in his mind. He did not feel the sparks on his 10 fingers. The boiling crane true power poured into his 10 fingers, continuously producing sparks. That is the pride that you have never given up. Tang Tian shouted loudly in his heart. Unknowingly, he felt very sad. In his heart, Ghost Claw was both a teacher and a friend, like a relative and not just a spirit general. There was a soft cry, and the sharp sound of claws clashing against each other was like a wild cat opening its eyes in the dark night to reveal a trace of dark red. This guy, how did he do it? The battle between Tang Tian and Guodong was extremely intense. The increase in strength wasn't huge, but Guodong had never seen such a thing happen in a single battle in his rich combat career. He suddenly made his move. But even so, he quickly suppressed Tang Tian, and it was a complete suppression. Guodong's true power had reached the 7th level, and against Tang Tian, who had just broken through to the 6th level, he had the absolute advantage. He had immersed himself in sword arts for decades, and was much more accomplished than Tang Tian in claw arts. Guiyu only saw a blur in front of him, and Sky Tiger instantly appeared in front of him. He was immediately overwhelmed with shock, so fast. What really surprised him was that the resistance coming from the tip of the sword was continuously getting stronger. Bing lowered his eyes, and Sky Tiger opened up its blue feathered wings. Suddenly, the wind behind him caused his smile to freeze, and at the same time, sky tiger that was slashed in front of him gradually dimmed down. Silver armor, especially the shiny gloves that Tang Tian had just comprehended, compared to Ghost Claw's fire scythe Ghost Claw, there was an obvious difference. Guodong did not show any weakness. The cold fire on the cold fire crow sword was sinister and strange, making it hard for people to defend against, and his attainments in the fire crow sword was extremely profound. The might of every move was rather astonishing. Fire scythe gloves. The wind from the fist brushed past the back of his head, causing the back of his head to go numb, and his heart was overwhelmed with shock. Guayu stared blankly at the unharmed sky tiger in front of him. I must see it. From now on, this technique will be called fire scythe gloves. Armor, a type of treasure amongst treasures compared to treasures, it was not inferior. Is it finally coming? In the battle quickly. Impossible. His eyes were so bright that it could pierce through people's hearts. He had imparted the fire crow sword to Guayu, and Guayu's enlightenment on Form Zero was completely different from his. So strong. Seeing the light aura of the fire scythe Ghost Claw, Guayu did not have time to think and fiercely pounced forward. Who? Tang Tian knew, saying that his level had dropped, his vitality had not recovered, his martial spirit was incomplete. To Ghost Claw, it was meaningless. This arrogant and cold man could not tolerate any failure. Bing looked at Guayu, his emotions complicated. Guayu's breathtaking slash. Even he felt that it was breathtaking, but he did not expect that slash could actually cause Ghost Claw's figure to disappear. Guodong's expression was solemn. His wrist shook. Whew. The cold fire left the sword and soared into the sky, like a fire crow spreading its wings. Buzz! Without waiting for him to get up, a chain of attacks followed. He immediately chuckled. This sword is called the Cold Fire Crow Sword, Corvus Constellation's Silver Treasures. Treasures versus treasures, it's very fair. The bleeding cat blade scythe in his hand trembled lightly, like a cat in the night, hungry and thirsty. Tang Tian's equipment made him drool. He simply could not understand, where did Tang Tian get so many treasures from? Thinking about how he had spent so much effort just to get a cold fire crow sword. Looking at Tang Tian again, the bleeding cat blade scythe was Link's Constellation's treasures, and what made him even more unimaginable was the silver armor. In Tang Tian's mind, Ghost Claw's lonely, withered, and crooked back view appeared. He was a man who had placed all of his pride, glory, and passion for life into this martial skill. He knew this was a huge blow to Ghost Claw. It was beyond imagination. Guodong was also a decisive person. Once he had made up his mind, he did not hesitate. The cold fire crow sword in his hand suddenly burst into flames. The cold fire suddenly sprang up like a fire crow spreading its wings, but it was extremely cold. Clang! Guodong almost cried out in shock. In the exchange just now, he had already felt out Tang Tian's strength. With Tang Tian's strength, he definitely could not break through his own fire net. The fire scythe and blood scythe interweaved. Every claw of Tang Tian was extremely powerful. Tang Tian realized that the sparks that were formed from the true power were much stronger than the sparks that were formed from friction in the air. The fire scythe gloves meant that Tang Tian already had his own understanding of the fire scythe Ghost Claw. Tang Tian's heart suddenly calmed down. His red eyes regained their calmness. That cold light aura seeped out with a terrifying aura. A silent shout resonated in Tang Tian's heart. Ghost Claw, let me prove the power of the fire scythe Ghost Claw. But burning true power, it consumed a lot of true power, so Tang Tian controlled the speed of burning true power and formed the sparks gloves. Bing's heart was filled with killing intent. He knew that Ghost Claw had always been proud, so Bing never interfered with Ghost Claw's battles. Ghost Claw, Fire Scythe Ghost Claw can definitely defeat them. The shock in Guodong's heart was extremely intense. Tang Tian's raised face was as hard as a rock. The arrogance in between his eyebrows carried a hint of madness. The turbulent true power unreservedly spewed out from his fingertips. In a moment, it was like a small fountain of sparks. The dazzling sparks gloves flickered continuously. But on his face, there was no fear. Then let's end this quickly. Ghost Claw's martial spirit was incomplete. Logically speaking, with such a serious, incomplete martial spirit, it was impossible for it to appear. But in Ghost Claw's martial spirit, there was a strong obsession and unwillingness, which allowed him to once again appear. The terrifying, deep vibrations filled the entire field. Even Magic Flute's flute sounds were suppressed. The ground beneath his feet trembled violently. The terrifying, formless undulations from the Fire Crow guillotine dissipated. The cold fire drew an arc in the sky, suddenly diving down. The cold fire fluttered. In the flames, a black and red-eyed Fire Crow was faintly discernible. The red cold pupils, so cold that it caused people's hearts to palpitate, opened its wings, suffused with a cold, sharp aura, like a black guillotine. Why did he have the feeling that his comrade had died? Guodong was not surprised. That was normal. To an average martial artist, practicing the same martial technique, maybe it would be very similar, but to a true expert, the same martial technique, the understanding and interpretation would be completely different. Tang Tian panted. When he was attacking the fire net with all his might, the true power in his body had broken through a critical point. The crane body energy produced a miraculous reaction. The fine crane true power gushed out. Under the control of the Fire Scythe Ghost Claw, it formed countless sparks. The Fire Crow executioner's strongest killing technique, Fire Crow Guillotine. Tang Tian's sporadic counterattacks started to make him feel danger. That's impossible. With a roar, Tang Tian's eyes were red. His face was sinister. He was not afraid of death. He welcomed the suffocating black light and pounced forward. Guodong took a deep breath. He was already unsure. If he continued to suppress Tang Tian, would he be able to crush him? The blazing light aura brewed in his 10 fingers, converging. Guodong could naturally see Tang Tian and Ghost Claw were using the same martial technique. But the same martial technique in different hands had a completely different feeling. A dark red flame aura slashed towards Sky Tiger's waist. Tang Tian did not say a word. The Fire Scythe gloves once again appeared on the Bleeding Cat Blade Scythe. But at this time, he took out the Bleeding Cat Blade Scythe. Suddenly, Guoyu felt as though he was suddenly in a storm. All around him were the attacks of the enemy. He could not breathe at all. The distance between both parties was too close. This slash, Sky Tiger was unable to dodge, and took the full brunt of it. The sky seemed to darken in an instant. The spewing sparks slowly congealed. In the blink of an eye, a layer of fine sparks formed a sparks net, enveloping Tang Tian's palm. Ghost Claw, don't be discouraged. In terms of strength, even if Tang Tian had just comprehended the Fire Scythe gloves, he would not be able to contend with Guodong, who was ranked 9928 on the Heaven Road list. But adding the power of the Silver Peacock armor and the 2 blood meridians, Tang Tian was actually able to block Guodong's attack. Tang Tian was not willing for Ghost Claw to die. Not at all. Guodong's pupils constricted and said, Bleeding Cat Blade Scythe, Link's Constellation's silver treasure weapon. The crane body energy in Tang Tian's body surged unceasingly, as though there was a majestic white crane continuously flapping its wings, the surging true power surging unceasingly. Guodong's sword body immediately pressed down, pointing straight at Tang Tian, and bellowed, Kill! This brat is improving. His sword just now was actually blocked by the mechanical martial artist in front of him. It was not strange for him to suppress Tang Tian. Such a heavy blow. Whether or not Ghost Claw could recover, he was not sure. The man who had not perfected this martial technique to his satisfaction and was unwilling to die. Chapter 214. Fire Scythe Ghost Claw. This was the radiance of Fire Scythe Ghost Claw. When the surging true power entered Tang Tian's head through his neck, Tang Tian's body suddenly froze. His bloodshot eyes lost focus. But in his pupils, there was a snow-white crane silhouette. 10 stars flew out from his fingertips, revolving in the air, transforming into 10 rays of light. The rays of light that flew out converged into 10 sharp lights, like 10 fireflies flying towards the black light. Bang, bang, bang. The dazzling silver light blossomed from Tang Tian's 10 fingers. The 10 blazing balls of light were like 10 shining stars. Ghost Claw stared blankly. Ghost Claw's skinny face exposed a warm smile. All the knots and stubbornness in his heart all disappeared. In his heart, there was only unparalleled satisfaction and unprecedented relief. The ball of light enveloping Tang Tian's fingers, with a speed visible to the naked eye, changed from a fiery red to a blazing silver white. Ghost Claw's mouth suddenly exposed a bitter smile. Slowly, the smile spread like a ripple, until it became a hearty laugh. Trembling with his dantian as the center extended to every corner of his body. If Tang Tian was not wearing any clothes, he would see the trembling ripple like a ripple, with his dantian as the center spreading in all directions. Is this true power? No. But the only regrettable thing was these martial techniques did not have any top-notch martial techniques. It's still not enough. Please accept my final gift. Tang Tian's eyes suddenly widened. The Fire Scythe Ghost Claw card on the martial technique wall had an additional layer of faint light aura. Godlike young lad, you must do your best. Young lad, I will not be able to fight side by side with you in the future. Behind the light door, Ghost Claw's thin figure floated in the air. Tang Tian could not hold it in anymore. Tears flowed out of his eyes, and he bawled. Bloom, Demon King Blazing Firefly. A golden light scar, congealed in the air, did not dissipate. After a second, the light scar transformed into a door. True power continuously flowed into the ball of light, incessantly burning. Godlike young man, thank you. He watched in a daze as Tang Tian roared, looked at Tang Tian's fire scythe gloves, looked at the dazzling ball of light in Tang Tian's hand, and looked at Tang Tian rushing towards the dark light like a moth flying into a flame. Ghost Claw, why can't I feel your chi? Impossible looking at the martial technique wall behind the light door. Ghost Claw raised his finger, touching the Fire Scythe Ghost Claw card. For some reason, Tang Tian did not feel the slightest joy of victory. Seeing the radiance of the Fire Scythe Ghost Claw, in a forgotten corner of the Aquarius Martial Cabinet, a small bronze crane suddenly lit up with a misty light. That was the bronze crane that Tang Tian had obtained in Three Spirit City. His body trembled violently like a sieve. Tang Tian was also hit by the arrow. His body stiffened and his pupils dilated. This was, young man, I saw it all. Behind the light door there was no one. The fire crow guillotine was getting closer and closer. The despair in Tang Tian's heart became more and more intense. He knew that his move could definitely defeat the opponent, but the prerequisite was that he had enough true power. Behind the light door, there were many gold cards arranged neatly. Crane hung the sword back on his waist, tidied up his clothes. With a solemn expression, he walked into the light door. Godlike young man, you must do your best. The surging true power burned wantonly at his fingertips. The Crane true power in his body was stirred to the maximum. His 5 fingers that were hanging by his side opened up. Every finger was wrapped with a blazing red ball of light. The true power flowed along his arms, through his wrists, and through all 10 fingers. Seeing the 10 blazing rays of light flying out, Tang Tian's heart suddenly calmed down. Crane held onto the sword with both hands and slowly slashed down. Young man, I am truly grateful to you. Crane's expression was solemn. Holding onto the sword with both hands, he raised it up high and bellowed. Tang Tian's eyes opened wide. The wind whistled in his ears. In his eyes, there was only the fire crow guillotine that was descending from the sky. The true power that could topple the mountains and overturn the seas erupted from his dantian without any warning. Like a surging flood, it swept through the meridians in his body, whistling forward. Guodong was hit hard. His body flew out, spitting out blood. His eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. Tang Tian, well done. Every ball of fire red light was like a red star. When he opened up his 10 fingers, they were like 10 stars. Bang! Guodong's face changed. In a panic, he used the cold fire crow sword to block in front of him. 3 light auras floated onto the sword blade. Pa pa pa. The cold fire crow sword exploded into 3 pieces. So, the burning of true power was the profoundness of the fire scythe, Ghost Claw. Tang Tian roared like a wild beast. All the true power in his body frantically poured into his 10 fingers. He did not care about the damage it would cause to his body. Time seemed to freeze. The stars in front of him, the sparks that were spewing out. Compared to the sparks that were produced from friction in the air, the power was much stronger. Even though he was far away, he could still feel the astonishing chi from the dancing sparks on Tang Tian's palms. Ghost Claw, did you see that? Bing even talked about the other use of the cross door, which was to deduce martial techniques. He suddenly stopped talking. His skinny fingers clenched into a fist. His wooden face was filled with happiness. He faced the cross door and said, Tang Tian, well done. The sword in his hand suddenly lit up with a dazzling gold light aura. Crane's face was reflected in it. Guodong activated his true power. His entire body was covered in dark flames. Like a fire crow, he rushed in front of Bing and blocked one of Bing's heavy hammers. He took the chance to save the injured Guayu. A clear cry of a crane sounded in Tang Tian's mind. Flash fist, minute collapsing fist, Tantue, scattering vortex. No way. It's called Demon King Blazing Firefly. It's a nice name, right? Come on. He stared blankly at Guodong, who was flying out. Suddenly, a lingering sound came from the wind. Suddenly, Tang Tian's pupils constricted. The true power in his body, at such a crucial moment, was actually all gone. Suddenly, 3 fireflies flew out from the explosion towards Guodong. True power, all of true power. This was the real fire scythe, Ghost Claw. Every time Tang Tian trained in a martial technique and comprehended a killing technique, the martial technique would appear behind the cross door, transforming into a gold card. Currently, the number of cards behind a cross door was not small. That year, the martial technique wall was filled with martial techniques. The fusion of the martial technique cards had formed many new martial techniques. But this fusion required the intervention of a martial spirit. The meridians were like a dried-up riverbed. The lingering sound floated in the air. Tang Tian's face was sinister and fierce. His eyes were bloodshot. He only had one thought in his mind. I'm coming. Crane was startled. Immediately, his face revealed a look of joy. He grabbed the sword. Following that, his face revealed a look of disbelief. He muttered, Heavenly Light Pellet Crane. He actually obtained the Heavenly Light Pellet Crane. But young man, before I disappear, please accept my last bit of power. Not knowing why, Tang Tian's nose felt sour. He bit his lips tightly. Looking at the 10 lights flying in front of him, they were like shooting stars. I must let Ghost Claw see it. Tang Tian did not chase. He stood there in a daze. His heart was filled with sorrow. Tang Tian suddenly regained his senses. The white crane dancing in front of him had disappeared. The whistling black light was already right in front of him. The sharp tip was pointed at his face. Ghost Claw's figure could be seen with the naked eye. It was fading away. Tang Tian, who had lost his focus, looked as though he was looking at a beautiful white crane dancing in the air. It was as though he was reborn. The gloominess and stupefaction on his face disappeared. His wrinkles smoothed out. His crooked back straightened. Ha ha ha! Strong. I really need to be much stronger. He activated the crane-style chi manual even more frantically. True power. He needed more true power. Tang Tian bit his lips tightly. His gaze was fixated on the black blade that was getting closer. His face did not show any signs of retreat. He continued to activate the crane-style chi manual with all his might. Is that? Fire Scythe, Ghost Claw. The bronze crane transformed into a green light and entered Tang Tian's body. Although my martial spirit is already dim, although my obsession is gone, although I am about to dissipate into mist and wind, although I am completely liberated, I am about to enter the cycle of reincarnation. After being stunned for a while, Tang Tian was immediately enraged. Crane, who was trekking across the mountains and rivers, Suddenly, the sword at his waist trembled violently. Ghost Claw, the 10 lights on his fingertips were dazzling. They were like the brightest stars in the sky. The true power flowed along the dried-up riverbed. It was unstoppable. Tang Tian did not have time to react. Every time the true power passed through a meridian, his body would tremble. Definitely. Ghost Claw's thin figure lit up with a misty light. The light flowed along his fingertips and entered the fire scythe Ghost Claw. Under Tang Tian's roar, the fire scythe gloves lit up with a dazzling light. The fire crow guillotine was trembling. Ghost Claw calmly walked to the back of the light door. Isn't it beautiful? Without thinking, the 10 fingers on his palms, which were spread open, suddenly grabbed at that black light. Young man, thank you. Thank you so much. But the dried-up meridians did not have a drop of true power. Ghost Claw's face suddenly revealed a trace of reluctance. He suddenly shouted, "Godlike young man, you must do your best. That's right. This is true power. Heavenly Crane from the same origin. In the name of Heavenly Crane Constellation, open." The blazing heat from his fingertips brought with it an aura that caused people's hearts to palpitate. The 10 lights and the black light got closer and closer. Ghost Claw, can you see it? But please don't be sad. This incomplete soul of mine is already incomparably satisfied. Ghost Claw's gaze landed on the fire scythe Ghost Claw card that just appeared. Bing had mentioned about the light door. Behind the light door was the martial technique wall. The entire army's martial techniques were all on it. But now, all these martial techniques had disappeared. That was also why he wanted to teach Tang Tian martial techniques. But he had no way to do so. He could only start training. Tang Tian, whose anger had disappeared, shouted silently in his heart. In the light, Ghost Claw's figure quickly became fainter and fainter. Countless light rays blossomed in front of him. The air in front of him exploded. Countless waves of air swept out from the center of the explosion. Floating in the air was like a withered leaf in the wind. His vision trembled violently. The more true power he ignited, the stronger the power of this technique would be. Not enough, not enough, not enough.